Europe. It's a continent steeped in history, where the past and present merge in a symphony of culture and tradition. At the heart of this grand narrative lies a concealed network of old money families whose influence and wealth have silently sculpted the landscape of European power for centuries. Today, we unravel the veiled layers of aristocracy and privilege, revealing the discreet yet undeniable force these families wield across nations. Through strategic marriages, pivotal business decisions, and the quiet accumulation of wealth and land, they have not only preserved their legacy, but also discreetly directed the course of European history. If we were to dare you to wave a magic wand, promising that with a single flourish you'd transform into the wealthiest royal in all of Europe, your mind might immediately transport you to the grand palaces of the United Kingdom, turning you into a member of the legendary Windsor family, or perhaps even to the opulent streets of Monaco as a member of the Grimaldis dynasty. However, once you've actually moved that enchanting item, you might find yourself in for quite the surprise. Instead of ruling over a vast kingdom teeming with millions of people, you'd find your royal domain to be a quaint little country, home to less than 40,000 souls, with a territory smaller than that of a typical city. Yes, our whimsical experiment in royal ascension would crown you as the prince or princess of none other than Lichtenstein. Yet, in this intriguing twist of fate, you'd be at the helm of a nation that, despite its modest size, harbours an unfathomably large fortune. And currently, leading this miniature but mighty realm is Prince Hans Adam II, a monarch whose $9 billion empire ranks him, in terms of privately held wealth, as wealthier than any Windsor or Monegasque leader you can think of. In today's episode, join us as we explore the fascinating world of a royal family whose wealth and influence defy the expectations set by their nation's geographical footprint, proving that in the realm of riches and royalty, size isn't everything. As we describe, the richest royal in Europe, the life and family history of Prince Hans Adam II. Prince Hans Adam II of Liechtenstein isn't just lounging around in his castle counting coins. As of 2024, he's sitting on a cool $9.12 billion, making him, by many accounts, the richest monarch in Europe in terms of private wealth. And his golden goose is LGT Group, a high-flying private banking and asset management firm with roots deep in the past 80 years. Indeed, under his watchful eye, LGT Group has blossomed, overseeing assets worth a hefty 287 billion Swiss francs, equal to around 300 billion US dollars by the end of 2022. And though it's based in Vaduz, Liechtenstein, this financial titan stretches its wealth-whispering talents across Europe, Hong Kong and Singapore, showcasing its globe-trotting prowess. But how's this for a plot twist? The prince's jackpot at LGT Group sits snugly under the umbrella of the Prince of Liechtenstein Foundation itself. This savvy setup not only manages the royal assets, but also counts among its treasures arable lands in Austria, priced like the finest plots in the region. And in terms of royal real estate, Hans Adam II could have several Netflix reality shows based around his mansion-filled empire. Of course, Vaduz Castle isn't just a pile of stones. It's a towering monument to the princely family's saga, with a view to match. But the castle collection doesn't stop there. He's got Austrian strongholds aplenty, each a chapter of European history, standing proud and lived in, blending past glory with present life. But wait, there's more to the prince than vaults and vistas. His art collection, a trove of over 1,600 pieces featuring the likes of Raphael, Rembrandt and Van Dyck, resides in the Liechtenstein Museum in Vienna. This billion-dollar love letter to the arts is a legacy measured in brushstrokes and brilliance. And beyond the balance sheets and the brushwork, Prince Hans Adam II doesn't shy away from the limelight in cultural and social circles. His involvement in the Scout movement and his role as a doting grandfather peel back the layers of a man who wears many crowns, balancing the books and bedtime stories with equal flair. And though he's draped in titles that sound straight out of a fairy tale, Prince Hans Adam II embodies centuries of heritage and honor. In 2003, he flexed his princely powers in a constitutional referendum, securing the right to veto laws, dissolve parliament, and appoint judges, showcasing a blend of tradition and authority that keeps the principality ticking. And, in a move echoing dynastic dances of old, Hans Adam II, in 2004, passed the governmental baton to his son, hereditary Prince Alois. This mirrors the mentorship of his own father, Prince Franz Joseph II, and ensures the continuity of a family that has mastered the art of ruling and the science of wealth. However, in a poignant chapter of his life, the prince's wife, Her Royal Highness Princess Marie, passed away in August 2021. Her story, from fleeing Prague to becoming a pillar of support and grace beside her husband, adds a layer of depth to the princely narrative, with her legacy demonstrating a blend of strength, sophistication, and service. Yet, in order to fully understand how Europe's richest royal came to embody a blend of class and prestige, and of course, how he even got the opportunity to make so much money in the first place, we first need to peel back the layers on this, one of the world's smallest and richest countries, by placing ourselves smack dab in the tumultuous middle of medieval Europe. In the early 12th century, the seeds of what would become a formidable dynasty, the House of Liechtenstein, were sown by one Hugo von Lichtenstein with the construction of Liechtenstein Castle. You see, Hugo, a figure who emerges in historical records around the year 1120, adopted his name from the fortress of Liechtenstein, positioned just south of Vienna, marking the beginning of the family's enduring legacy in the area. And during this period, the Liechtenstein family emerged not merely as proprietors of vast lands, but also as influential figures in Lower Austria, marking their ascent in the socio-political hierarchy of the region. By the year 1249, their strategic prowess was unmistakably demonstrated through the acquisition of Nikolsburg, now known as Mikulov, located in the southern Moravian region of the present-day Czech Republic. Now, this move wasn't just a territorial expansion. It was a chess move in the political landscape, elevating the Liechtenstein status and forming the nucleus of their estates until the mid-16th century. And their influence was such that they sometimes adopted the moniker von Liechtenstein von Nikolsburg, underscoring their ties to this key locale. As the 12th century unfolded, the Liechtensteins' ambitions widened through astute marriages and territorial acquisitions, including Petronell on the Danube and Rorau Castle. These were not mere vanity projects, but strategic endeavors that safeguarded vital trade routes and bolstered their economic foundations. Then, the family's trajectory took a decisive turn under Karl I, whose actions alongside his brothers Maximilian and Gundaker laid the foundations for their enduring prominence. Therefore, this period was marked by a series of calculated moves that would firmly entrench the Liechtensteins within the echelons of power. First, Karl's elevation to Grand Count Palatinate by Emperor Rudolf II in 1606 was not merely a title, it was a recognition of his loyalty and service to the Habsburg monarchy. Indeed, this promotion allowed Karl to exert significant influence, as it granted him the authority to bestow knighthoods and other honors, enhancing his stature within the Holy Roman Empire. And the subsequent elevation of Karl to hereditary prince further solidified this ascent. Certainly, this pivotal moment was not just an increase in rank, it was an acknowledgement of the Liechtenstein family's indispensable role within the empire's aristocracy. Being named hereditary prince marked the family's transition into the highest ranks of European nobility, a leap that was both rare and highly significant. Furthermore, the conversion of the Liechtenstein brothers to Catholicism in 1599 was a strategic alignment with the Habsburgs, the reigning dynasty of the Holy Roman Empire, known for its staunch Catholicism. And this religious shift was a calculated move to secure the favor of the Habsburgs, and to position the Liechtensteins as loyal allies within the empire's dominant religious and political faction. This alignment was crucial, as it opened doors to greater influence and opportunities within the Catholic-controlled regions of Europe. And the Bohemian Revolt, a significant uprising against Habsburg authority, further tested the Liechtensteins' loyalty. Their unwavering support during this tumultuous period, especially Maximilian's military leadership at the Battle of White Mountain in 1620, was instrumental in the Habsburgs' victory. Specifically, this battle was a decisive clash in the 30 Years' War, a conflict that would shape the political and religious landscape of Europe for decades. And Maximilian's valor and tactical genius not only quashed the rebellion, but also secured the Liechtenstein as a place of honor within the Catholic hierarchy of the empire. In essence, these strategic decisions and alliances were not mere opportunism. They were astute maneuvers that capitalized on the shifting tides of European power dynamics. The Liechtenstein's rise was a blend of military prowess, religious allegiance, and political sagacity, culminating in a legacy that would extend far beyond their time, cementing their status as a dynastic power within the Holy Roman Empire. Consequently, their political and military victories paved the way for an ambitious expansion of their holdings. And Karl's governorship of Bohemia and his induction into the Order of the Golden Fleece were but steps towards an ultimate goal: imperial immediacy. By Karl's death in 1627, the Liechtensteins controlled a vast swathe of Central Europe, a clear sign of their ascendance in the feudal hierarchy. But their crowning achievement came in 1719, when Emperor Charles VI recognized the House of Liechtenstein's princely status, unifying their territories under the Principality of Liechtenstein, and catapulting them into the higher echelons of political and social circles within the Holy Roman Empire. You see, previously, despite their considerable wealth and influence at the Habsburg court, the Liechtensteins were missing a crucial piece of the aristocratic puzzle: sovereign territory under direct imperial control, a key to unlocking a seat in the imperial diet. The strategic acquisition and subsequent unification of Vaduz and Schellenberg into the Principality of Liechtenstein not only filled this gap, but also bestowed upon the family unprecedented prestige and autonomy. And this transformation occurred against the backdrop of a Europe entangled in political scheming, with the Habsburg monarchy under Charles VI striving to solidify its dominion. Therefore, the creation of the Principality was intertwined with Charles VI's ambitions, notably the pragmatic sanction aimed at ensuring his dynasty's continuity. And for the Liechtensteins, this move was the zenith of centuries of careful marriage strategies, acquisitions, and unwavering loyalty to the Habsburgs, emblematic of the nuanced interplay between nobility and imperial authority. Thus began Liechtenstein's journey as an independent entity, skillfully navigating the complex landscape of European politics and maintaining its sovereignty through upheavals and transitions. This newfound status laid the groundwork for the Liechtenstein dynasty's enduring prosperity, underpinned by astute investments and a forward-thinking approach to business, ensuring their legacy well into the modern era as they became a so-called tax haven, which is what we'll discuss in the next chapter. With the dissolution of the Holy Roman Empire, Liechtenstein emerged as a sovereign entity in 1806, a status further solidified with its departure from the German Confederation in 1866, stepping firmly onto the world stage as an independent nation. Thus began the principal economic framework that Liechtenstein is known for today. You see, initially hamstrung by an agrarian economy and scant natural resources, the Principality faced a daunting road to prosperity. The turn of the 20th century, however, marked a dramatic pivot. Severing economic dependencies with Austria post-World War I, Liechtenstein forged a groundbreaking customs and monetary alliance with Switzerland in 1924. And this union was not merely a lifeline. It was a launchpad that propelled Liechtenstein into economic vitality, culminating in a diversified, industrialized economy and a cornerstone of global financial services. Yet, despite their close ties, including Switzerland's representation of Liechtenstein's diplomatic interests, the Principality has unwaveringly maintained its sovereignty, and this independence was eventually internationally recognized. Furthermore, in the early 20th century, Liechtenstein embarked on an economic voyage that would irrevocably steer it towards becoming a beacon for global capital in search of tax optimization. This journey was kick-started with a pivotal decision in 1924 to adopt the Swiss franc, following the aforementioned customs and monetary union with Switzerland. This move not only ensured economic stability, but also seamlessly integrated Liechtenstein into a broader financial ecosystem. The turning point, however, came in 1928, when Liechtenstein enacted legislation that paved the way for the establishment of holding companies, offering them enticing tax exemptions. This legislative masterstroke positioned the Principality as an attractive destination for international capital, setting the stage for its evolution into a renowned tax haven. As years rolled into decades, Liechtenstein meticulously honed its legal framework, significantly boosting its allure as a financial sanctuary. Indeed, the Principality became synonymous with a high level of confidentiality and privacy, thanks, in part, to its stringent banking secrecy laws. This veil of secrecy proved to be a magnet for wealth from across the globe, drawing in funds keen to sidestep taxation or evade scrutiny in their countries of origin. And Liechtenstein's tax regime is distinguished by a plethora of incentives and exemptions, all meticulously crafted to lure foreign investment and holding companies. Notably, the Principality extends profit tax exemptions to corporations pursuing charitable, cultural, or idealistic endeavors without engaging in commercial activities. Moreover, holding companies that derive their income from dividends and capital gains on shares enjoy lucrative tax breaks. However, the Principality's status as a tax haven has been a double-edged sword, attracting not just investment, but also controversy. The 2008 tax affair shone a spotlight on Liechtenstein's involvement in global tax evasion schemes, eliciting calls for enhanced transparency and international cooperation in tax matters. In an effort to shed its image as a facilitator of tax evasion, Liechtenstein made a significant policy shift in 2013, ceasing its support for foreigners seeking to conceal money from their tax authorities, and this move was indicative of the Principality's commitment to aligning itself with global tax standards. Yet, despite strides towards transparency, Liechtenstein's legacy as a tax haven continues to be a focal point of scrutiny. Thus, the Principality finds itself at a crossroads, striving to balance its economic aspirations with the global demand for financial integrity and cooperation. As it forges ahead, Liechtenstein remains a pivotal figure in the domain of international finance and tax planning, a role that is as complex as it is critical in the ever-evolving global financial landscape. However, just like we started this video, the actual royal family of Liechtenstein itself has an equally harrowing future to navigate, with Gen Z members popping out left and right, and a succession plan needing to be solidified. In Liechtenstein, hereditary Prince Alois stands as a beacon of continuity and vision for this Alpine Principality. Born as the heir apparent on the 11th of June 1968, Alois was groomed from an early age for the mantle of leadership, a journey that took him from the esteemed halls of the Liechtenstein Gymnasium to the disciplined ranks of the Coldstream Guards, courtesy of his education at the Royal Military Academy Sandhurst. Assuming the regency in August 2004, as mentioned earlier, Alois has since been the linchpin of Liechtenstein's governance, acting on behalf of Prince Hans Adam II. This role has allowed him to hone his skills in statecraft and diplomacy, with his duties spanning the local and the global stage, from spearheading Liechtenstein's presence at United Nations meetings to ceremoniously opening the national parliament. And Alois's tenure is characterized by a delicate balancing act, honoring the Principality's storied heritage while steering it towards a future that is both sustainable and globally minded. His acumen extends into the economic realm as well, where he oversees the Prince of Liechtenstein Foundation, safeguarding the princely family's substantial financial and cultural heritage. This role underscores Alois's adeptness in ensuring the Principality's prosperity, leveraging its economic strengths with strategic insight. The political landscape of Liechtenstein, too, has felt Alois's influence, with his regency marked by constitutional reforms and open dialogues on pivotal national issues. Furthermore, Alois's personal life is intertwined with his royal duties. Married to Duchess Sophie in Bavaria, the couple forms a partnership that bridges Liechtenstein with broader European aristocracy. Their 4 children, Prince Joseph Wenzel, Princess Marie-Caroline, Prince Georg, and Prince Nicholas carry forward the lineage, each bearing the Count or Countess of Rietberg title, a nod to their heritage and responsibilities. And the succession line, rooted in the principle of agnatic primogeniture, underscores the continuity of the princely family's legacy. Alois leads this lineage, followed by his children and siblings, ensuring the throne's future. But this system, although it's steeped in tradition, allows for adaptation, including provisions for renunciation and the adoption of an heir presumptive, albeit within the constraints of male patrilineal descent. As Liechtenstein navigates the 21st century, therefore, hereditary Prince Alois embodies the fusion of legacy and innovation, a steward of both his family's history and the Principality's future. Therefore, as the Principality of Liechtenstein looks to the future, the fusion of maintaining its cultural treasures with the exigencies of modern governance and global participation reflects a delicate balance between honoring tradition and adapting to an ever-changing world. In the murky corridors of European power, a dynasty stands, their command shaping the fate of an entire continent. Some might say they transcend the definition of a family, embodying an invisible empire, their unseen hands shaping Europe's economic might. Their holdings reign over an amalgamation of conglomerates and institutions whose collective magnitude sends seismic tremors through the world's finances, amassing a towering market capitalization of an astounding $800 billion. Astoundingly, their empire employs a shocking 1 million people, whose livelihoods are tethered to the colossal holdings of this shadowy dynasty. Their crown jewel investor has grown from its inaugural public offering in 1919 into a testament of unrivaled wealth multiplication. It has churned out a total shareholder return so astronomical that it dwarfs comprehension, an astounding 167,320 times the initial investment. This figure distills into an equally impressive compounded annual growth rate of 12.5%, a monument to their financial prowess and vision. Furthermore, in the transformative epoch of the 70s, this dynasty's enterprises were the beating heart of Sweden's economy, providing employment to a staggering 40% of Sweden's industrial labor force. They stood not merely as contributors, but as an indispensable pillar, a throbbing artery of the nation's economic lifeblood. Today we stand at the precipice, ready to lift the veil obscuring this potent dynasty. Are you prepared to unravel the mystery of such unparalleled wealth and influence? Let's plunge into the vortex of this silent yet thunderous might. At the helm of Europe's economic leviathan, a name echoes through history, a family nearly unmatched in power and influence, the Wallenberg family. Now, first we'd like you to picture Europe as a grand game board, its economic pieces meticulously moved by invisible hands. At the helm at any given time stands a family, often not the Rothschilds as one might presume, but rather the Wallenbergs. To put this into perspective, the Wallenbergs have historically held so much power that they had the ability to keep their country out of wars. Two cousins of diplomat Raoul Wallenberg played an officially sanctioned but controversial part in neutral Sweden's World War II diplomacy. Furthermore, just a couple of decades later, at the height of the Wallenbergs' preeminence in the 1970s, their various firms together employed an eye-watering 40% of Sweden's industrial workforce. Even today, they employ more than 1 million people globally. Now, their commanding presence is not just restricted to their homeland of Sweden. It's an omnipresence that permeates every corner of the European economy, an influence as pervasive as the air we breathe. The Wallenbergs, via their regal investment vehicle Investor AB, hold the keys to some of Europe's most formidable corporate castles. Their scepter points toward AstraZeneca, a towering fortress in the pharmaceutical landscape, and Ericsson, the lighthouse guiding the course of telecommunications. Of course, with the recent ups and downs of AstraZeneca, you can imagine what kind of power they wield if they are literally one of the big vaccine families. Their influence over these enterprises is not just of a casual investor. No, they truly steer these economic ships, charting their strategic course, shaping global healthcare and digital frontiers. Now let us turn to the Wallenbergs' prized treasure, Skandinaviska Enskilda Banken, SEB. It's not just a bank. Picture it as a mighty river, its flow of finances nourishing the economic landscapes of Europe. Its reach is extensive, its grasp is firm, and its influence, like the Wallenbergs, is unparalleled. And there's more. This tale of European dominance doesn't end with healthcare, telecommunications, and finance. The Wallenbergs' royal crest also adorns other corporate bastions like Atlas Copco and Saab, each a titan in their respective fields of industry and defense. Estimating the Wallenbergs' total financial reach in Europe would be akin to calculating the stars in the sky. It's vast, it's breathtaking, and in many sectors outshines the Rothschilds. Their legacy, their influence on economic policies, their mastery of business practices is absolutely monumental. But of course now we must ask, just how did they get here? What familial history and strategic moves propelled them to this echelon of power? To answer this, we must wind back the clock a bit and settle our narrative in the rustic expanse of 17th century Sweden. In the midst of vibrant fields and serene lakes, a humble farmer by the name of Per Hansson works the relentless land. The farmland of Sweden, particularly in the region where the Hansson family dwells, proves to be a stern taskmaster. It calls for constant toil, but in reciprocation cultivates fortitude and fosters a robust sense of community among its dwellers. For these robust farmers, life is an ongoing waltz with nature, a challenge, but also a shared experience. These country folk are tucked away in the province of Västergötland, a land steeped in rich cultural heritage and natural splendor, marked distinctively by its fecund plains and ancient rock carvings. The thought of transforming into a vital cog in the wheel of European history seems as remote as the stars that twinkle overhead. Yet destiny is scheming its course. Among Hansson's sons, one decides to adopt a new name, Wallenberg. Little does he realize then that this name is destined to echo through the corridors of time, evolving into a symbol of power and influence in Europe. After a coda, our timeline now jumps to the 19th century. The curtain lifts to reveal a new protagonist, André Oscar Wallenberg, born in 1816. This intrepid spirit, who once navigated the high seas as a naval officer, would soon set his course towards uncharted waters, the world of finance. In the 1850s, Wallenberg found himself mediating loans for a sawmill owner in a twist of fate. It was a departure from his naval background, but his adventurous and tenacious spirit saw it as a challenge to be conquered. He had the soul of a voyager and the mind of a strategist, traits that served him well on the sea and in finance. The same man with whom he navigated this venture would later join him in establishing Sundsvall's first brewery, sparking the first flames of the Wallenberg banking empire. However, the Wallenberg tale truly takes flight with André's son, Knut Agathon Wallenberg. From a naval officer, he charted his path into the world of banking, and upon his father's death in 1886, he ascended to the throne of Stockholm's Enskilda Bank. Under his watchful eye, the bank blossomed into a linchpin of Sweden's industrial revolution, becoming a conduit connecting Swedish industry to the deep pockets of French capital markets. With wealth beyond measure, Knut Agathon emerged as a titan of Swedish society, even serving as Minister of Foreign Affairs during the turbulent war years of 1914 to 1917. Furthermore, the Wallenbergs did not merely wield their influence in the world of finance and politics. Education was another arena where they shaped the future. In 1903, Knut Agathon generously donated a large sum to create the Stockholm School of Economics. This prestigious institution continues to operate today, still under the watchful guardianship of the Wallenbergs. Furthermore, Marcus Wallenberg Sr., Knut Agathon's younger brother and successor as the bank CEO, was a legal scholar who gave birth to numerous companies and banks. He swooped in as a financial savior, rescuing ASEA ABB from the brink of bankruptcy and founding the Federation of Swedish Industries. As we leap into the present, 2023, the Wallenberg name still towers high in Swedish industry. Jacob Wallenberg, the present patriarch, stands at the helm of Investor AB, a company founded by his ancestors in 1916. With a portfolio worth a staggering $65 billion, including stakes in giants like Ericsson AB, Atlas Copco AB, and EQT AB, the Wallenbergs continue to shape the landscape of corporate Sweden. In their homeland, the Wallenbergs' political foothold has been long established. Their connections span across all major political parties, with some of their family members having served in the Swedish Parliament and others in key positions in public bodies. This influential network doesn't just give them a seat at the table, it's as if they have an entire wing of the Grand Dining Hall. On the European Union stage, the Wallenbergs' reach is both subtle and profound. They have been instrumental in shaping EU directives on corporate governance and sustainability, leveraging their reputation as champions of responsible stewardship. It was under their influence, for instance, that the EU adopted stricter environmental regulations for businesses, a testament to their commitment to sustainable practices. Perhaps one of the most tangible demonstrations of their influence was the instrumental role they played in the EU's digital single market strategy, which sought to bring down digital barriers across member states. Of course, it is no coincidence that Ericsson, a Wallenberg enterprise, stands to benefit greatly from this policy. But it's not just policies and regulations where their influence can be seen. The Wallenbergs have fostered strategic relationships with some of Europe's most influential families and political figures. Their ties with the Agnelli family, who control Fiat Chrysler and the Juventus Football Club, have led to fruitful collaborations in the automotive and sports industries. Their alliance with the Bettencourt family, major shareholders in L'Oréal, has resulted in strategic cross-holdings and joint business ventures. Through their controversial involvement in high-level forums like the Bilderberg meetings and the World Economic Forum, the Wallenbergs have built hidden relationships with key European political figures, ranging from prime ministers to commissioners, making their influence felt across the political spectrum. All these connections, relationships, and influences are not just a testament to their strategic acumen, but also underscore their significance in shaping the political and economic narratives of Europe. Their reach extends beyond mere business, deeply embedding into the socio-political fabric of the continent. Their influence isn't just potent, it's a masterstroke of strategic positioning and network building. They're not merely actors on the European stage, they're the directors of the grand play that is European politics and economy. Every tale of power and influence inevitably courts controversy, and the Wallenbergs are not exempt from this rule. One major controversy that ensnared the family was the infamous Telia incident. In 2018, their business empire was rocked when an attempt was made by Telia Company, a major telecommunications firm in their portfolio, to buy TV assets in Sweden and Finland. The deal ran afoul of EU competition authorities, leading to its ultimate collapse. Critics pointed their fingers at the Wallenbergs, painting the incident as a glaring example of their unchecked power and the need for stricter regulation. The incident tarnished the family's reputation, and whispers of their unchecked influence echoed throughout Europe. In addition, the Wallenbergs have weathered criticism over their perceived nepotism. Critics argue that their control over some of Sweden's largest corporations through investor AB has led to an entrenched power structure that favors family members and their allies. This, they say, hampers fair competition and stifles new voices and innovation. While the Wallenbergs argue that their family-centric approach ensures stability and long-term strategic planning, detractors see it as an unhealthy concentration of power. Their significant influence on policy-making, both domestically and at the EU level, has not been without contention. Critics argue that their ability to shape policies to suit their own enterprises could potentially stifle competition. The aforementioned influence on the EU's digital single market strategy, which largely benefited Ericsson, is a case in point, leading to questions about potential conflicts of interest and the undue advantage held by such influential families. However, the most severe criticism of the Wallenbergs perhaps revolves around their substantial wealth and the associated tax implications. Much like many ultra-rich families, their use of complex holding structures has led to accusations of tax avoidance. While all their operations are technically within legal boundaries, critics argue that these practices contribute to wealth inequality and call for stricter tax regulations for such dynastic families. The Wallenbergs are not just puppet masters of economic and political power, they also weave a generous thread of philanthropy into the tapestry of their influence. They've established numerous foundations that collectively make substantial annual donations to scientific research and education. The Knut and Alice Wallenberg Foundation, for instance, is one of the largest private financiers of scientific research in Europe. Their munificent patronage has invigorated Swedish research in medicine, technology, and the natural sciences, casting a beacon of hope for scientific innovation and progress. The Wallenbergs' philanthropic exploits often cast a favorable light upon their public perception. Their generous endowments to research and education have been lauded as a tangible demonstration of their commitment to society. Their actions inspire admiration and gratitude in the public eye, softening any criticism of their influence and their wealth. But how do the Wallenbergs' philanthropic activities stack up against other influential families, you ask? Let us journey across the Atlantic to the land of the Rockefellers, a family with a similar legacy of wealth, influence, and philanthropy. While the Rockefellers have made significant contributions to public health and arts, the Wallenbergs have chosen to make their mark in the realm of scientific research and education, displaying an equal, if not greater, commitment to societal advancement. On the home front, the Wallenbergs' philanthropy eclipses that of other influential European families. Their commitment to scientific research, specifically, dwarfs even the philanthropic endeavors of the Rothschilds. And unlike the Rothschilds, who have a more diversified philanthropic portfolio, the Wallenbergs have chosen to channel their wealth into a focused and strategic approach, ultimately leading to a more significant impact in their chosen fields. I want you to close your eyes for a moment. The year is 1986. Picture yourself on a spaceship, traveling back in time to a destination incomparable in ridiculous splendor and extravagant excess in a galaxy far, far away. You're making your descent into the heart of Europe, where the illustrious Thurn and Taxis family is gearing up to throw the most outrageous party the continent has ever seen. Your spaceship gently lands on the sprawling grounds of a 500-room Bavarian castle, a fortress of untamed luxury that would make even the most seasoned millionaire gasp. You take a deep breath, shake off the interstellar jet lag, and walk headfirst into the eccentric, jaw-dropping, and insanely over-the-top world of Prince Johannes's 60th birthday bash, hosted by none other than his audacious and headstrong wife, Princess Gloria, nicknamed Princess TNT. At the center of this storm of excess, you'll find a birthday cake. But this is not your typical run-of-the-mill supermarket sheet cake. This is a monumental tribute to the man of the hour, decorated with 60 marzipan phallic symbols. We'll call it that to keep cool with our YouTube overlords, one for each of the prince's audacious, boundary-pushing years. Around you, the glitterati of the world are swirling in a dance of extravagance. The champagne is flowing like the river Danube. The music echoes through the castle's stone corridors, and the laughter and chattering of socialites, rock stars, fashion icons, and blue-blooded aristocracy blend into a symphony of affluence and influence. Snap back to reality. Glad to have you back with us. Your first question, I'd venture, is, what just happened to you? Well, allow me to elaborate here on today's episode of Old Money Luxury, as we take you on a journey through the wild and wonderful world of the party animals of old money Europe, the Thurn and Taxis dynasty. Now, looking back, if there's anything to be said about the Thurn and Taxis family, it's that they've got longevity. They've managed to stand the test of time, harking back to the 12th century, when they were known as the Counts della Torre. These Italian gentry settled in picturesque Cornello, following a bitter struggle for the glimmering city of Milan. Family legends spin an interesting yarn. The Taxis are direct descendants of these Counts della Torre, and it seems Emperor Ferdinand III was more than happy to buy into this narrative. He handed them the right to use the Count's coat of arms and name, in addition to their own. Thus, from 1650, they've been known as the Thurn and Taxis family. Now here's where it gets really juicy. They didn't just sit back and live off their ancient lineage. The Thurn and Taxis family became the tycoons of postal services, dominating for about 4 centuries. They held the reins of postal systems across Western and Central Europe, even under the Holy Roman Empire, later competing against government services. Picture it, an army of 20,000 horseback riders, thundering across Europe, delivering post from Britain to Bulgaria. Their wealth and prominence blossomed through this empire of letters and strategic marriages into the loftiest of German families. Then you've got Lamoral von Taxis, Postmaster General of the Imperial Reichspost, courtesy of an appointment in 1615 that made the position a family heirloom. speed up to the 1980s, and Princess Gloria von Thurn and Taxis was setting the world on fire as a socialite and style icon. After losing her husband, she didn't crumble. She rolled up her sleeves, took over the family estates, and transformed a tottering dynasty into a modern, profitable enterprise. Currently, the Thurn and Taxis banner is carried by Prince Albert XII, a philosopher-businessman who's not averse to burning rubber as a race car driver. What a family indeed. Look here, the Thurn and Taxis lot didn't just happen upon a pile of old money and call it a day. No, they made an absolute fortune from running the postal services of Europe for 4 centuries. And not just in one country, oh no. They had the gall to operate across Western and Central Europe, even under the Holy Roman Empire. Their coffers also fattened through strategic marriages, because why just deliver letters when you can deliver heirs into the noblest of German households? To add to their war chest, the family boasts breweries, more castles than one can count on 2 hands scattered across Germany, and 36,000 hectares of woodland. That's a mind-boggling stretch of forest, one of the largest holdings in Europe. Now, preserving such opulence is no child's play. The Thurn and Taxis family spread their wealth, diversifying their investments and businesses. They've sunk their money into commercial real estate, not just in Germany, but also the US and Canada. On top of that, they've dabbled in real estate management, forestry production, and culture at the family's museums and the academic court library, to be precise. For good measure, they've even got their own investment and advisory companies, like Prinz Karl Thurn and Taxis Management AG, offering an array of services from real estate management to major real estate developments. Today, the family empire is a veritable cornucopia of businesses and investments. Their fingers are in all sorts of pies: property and real estate, forestry, culture, oil, gas, power, financial services, you name it. The 12th Prince, Albert, is at the helm, a businessman, philosopher and race car driver, who's been dubbed the world's youngest billionaire more than once. Not bad for a lineage that started with delivering post, a staggering $1.6 billion net worth. So, to say that the Thurn and Taxis family has mastered the art of maintaining wealth would be a gross understatement. When it came to throwing the bash of the 20th century, Princess Gloria von Thurn und Taxis likely reigned supreme. And who can forget Prince Johannes's aforementioned 60th birthday bash in 1986? An epic event, so spectacular, it's etched into the annals of aristocratic decadence. Held at the family's grand Schloss St. Emmeram, the Fête du Siècle involved an array of lavish spectacles, a pontifical mass, a gala dinner, a costume ball, and even a leisurely boat trip on the Danube. The world's glitterati descended upon the castle in their droves, eager to revel in the extravagant festivities. Vanity Fair didn't mince words, dubbing the event aristocracy's most flamboyant anachronism since the Bourbons tumbled, a comparison as decadent as the party itself. Yet another spectacle of note was the costume ball hosted by Princess Gloria herself at their colossal Bavarian palace. Reminiscent of the grandeur of the Marie Antoinette era, it played host to an illustrious guest list that included the Maharaja of Baroda. Not content with their Euro-centered exploits, Princess Gloria and Prince Johannes plunged into the New York nightlife, rubbing shoulders with celebrities and living it up till 5 a.m. In a candid interview with W magazine, Princess Gloria offered a poignant reflection on her spoiled brat period, with no hint of remorse for her wild, fun-loving past. According to her, youth is for the curious and adventurous, and every age has its own modus operandi. It's no wonder that the Thurn and Taxis family has a reputation as the party animals of the European aristocracy. They've retained the allure of high society soirees, while challenging conventions and raising the bar for opulence and imagination. Their legendary events have, undeniably, left a permanent and unmistakable imprint on Europe's social scene. Now, the days of wild partying might have dimmed a bit for the Thurn and Taxis family, but they haven't hung up their party hats just yet. No, they've simply fine-tuned their approach, swapped out the relentless hedonism for a more cultured, inclusive vibe. Princess Gloria, the reigning matriarch of merriment, has made it her mission to fling wide the doors of the St. Emmeram Palace to as many guests as possible. And she's not just inviting them over for a cuppa and a chat, she's organising events that would make even the most culture-starved aristocrat sit up and take notice. The Thurn and Taxis Palace Festival, for instance, has become a must-attend event on Europe's cultural calendar, touted as one of the top 10 festivals in the continent. It's an event that brings together high art, music, and the grandeur of their historic palace. The family isn't just flashing their wealth now, they're showcasing their taste, their appreciation for the finer things in life. But it's not just about the grandiose festivals. The family also hosts smaller, intimate events, like art exhibitions and wine tastings, sharing their refined tastes with a broader audience. Thus, in this modern era, the Thurn and Taxis have smartly recalibrated their image from the extravagant party throwers of yore to influential patrons of the arts. The family has proved that it's possible to adapt to changing times without losing an iota of their aristocratic charm. The parties might have evolved, but the Thurn and Taxis' status and influence remain undiminished. Prince Albert II of Thurn and Taxis, a man who's taken on the mantle of his storied lineage with a dash of panache and a sprinkle of modernity. After the death of his father, Prince Johannes, Albert became the head of the family at a tender age. But don't be fooled, he's not just a princely figurehead, he's a businessman, a philanthropist, and a race car driver to boot. Talk about wearing multiple hats, or should that be crowns? Then, of course, there's the indomitable Princess Gloria, the ex-socialite who's traded in her days of wild parties for a more sedate existence as a patron of the arts. Albert's sisters, Maria and Elizabeth, are also making their own marks, the former as an artist and the latter as a journalist, keeping the family flag flying high in the realms of arts and letters. Now, the Thurn and Taxis family is a hive of activity. There's the vast estates they manage, the beer they still produce under their family name, and the palace doors they've thrown open to the public. But it's not just about keeping the coffers full and the stately home busy, it's also about giving back. Albert's philanthropic ventures are a testament to that. But let's address the elephant in the room, the family's past reputation as the party animals of the European aristocracy. Yes, they used to be notorious for their extravagant shindigs and flamboyant lifestyles, but times change, and so have the Thurn and Taxis. Today, their parties have given way to more cultured events that celebrate art, music, and heritage. In a world that's forever evolving, the Thurn and Taxis have deftly managed to evolve too, shifting from the party animals of yesteryears to the distinguished patrons of arts and culture today. They've held on to their esteemed status while adapting to the changing times. And that, viewers, is a feat worthy of a toast, preferably with a glass of Thurn and Taxis brew. Italian history is perhaps humanity's most magnificent stage, dominated by princes and popes, artists and emperors, designers and sculptors, stretching back millennia. When conversations turn to the most formidable dynasties of Italy, our thoughts immediately drift to the ancient Romans or the spiritual might of popes. Yet, lurking in the shadows of these giants, there exists an old money family that is not as frequently discussed outside of Italy, but whose power and influence over the country are unmatched in modern history. It's a dynasty not necessarily filled with emperors or pontiffs, but filled with kings and queens, a family unlike any other, who managed to weave the fragmented fabric of Italian city-states into a unified kingdom, standing tall amidst the tumults of European politics, the Napoleonic incursions, and the cataclysms of 2 world wars. In today's episode, we dive into the epic narrative of a family whose influence has been the cornerstone in creating modern Italy as we know it. But our story takes an intriguing turn when we explore a period where their power became so overwhelming that it threatened the established order, leading to an unprecedented decision: exile. This segment of their history highlights the paradox of their legacy. Their ability to unify and govern was so formidable that it incited fear among their contemporaries, prompting rulers and political factions to force them into exile, as we describe the Savoy dynasty, the old money family that created modern Italy. The Savoy family, at their peak, hasn't just had mere power or influence. Indeed, such terms fall as understatements when dealing with such a dominant old money family. In fact, if you were to gaze your eyes over a timeline of Italian monarchs, you would see that the Savoy dynasty held power in Italy for the best part of 1,000 years, from the 11th century to 1946. And, Despite being ousted by the Italian Republic in 1946, many still regard the Savoys to be the de facto royal family of Italy to this very day. Indeed, perhaps the most notable current member of this illustrious lineage is still kicking around with a regal title. Emanuele Filiberto isn't just any prince. He's the Prince of Venice, thanks to his grandfather, Umberto II, who had a blink-and-you'll-miss-it reign as the last king of Italy. Born in exile thanks to Italy's ban of the Savoy male heirs, Emanuele's since made his grand Italian comeback, diving into a smorgasbord of entrepreneurial and media gigs with the flair of a prince-turned-mogul. And holding the baton as the would-be Savoy heir, he's not just resting on his laurels, he's hustling hard. Even a net worth of $100 million and a fantasy castle is not enough to satisfy a member of House Savoy. From presiding over the International Association of the Dynastic Orders of the House of Savoy to shaking it on Italy's Dancing with the Stars, he's a prince on a mission. And did we mention the fashion brand and the political party dreams he had about restoring the monarchy? Yes, he's got those too. As for the internal royal rumble, Emanuele Filiberto's dance card is full with dynastic disputes, notably with a distant cousin claiming the family throne. It's like Game of Thrones, but with less blood, more legal paperwork, and because it's in Italy, much better attire. Then there's his daughter, Vittoria di Savoia, stepping into the spotlight as the first female heir in a millennium, smashing through the glass ceiling with her tiara. At 17, this Gen Z Italian princess is juggling the weight of a 1,000-year legacy with the life of a modern influencer and aspiring fashion designer. Currently, Paris, France, is her playground, but she's got her eyes set on more than just the runways. Meanwhile, Prince Aimone, the distant cousin of Emanuele and the other claimant for the Italian throne, is caught in a title tussle that reads like a royal soap opera. He's the Duke of Aosta, but it's a crown of thorns, with family feuds and contested claims. Beyond the noble squabbles, he's also dabbling in diplomacy and the tire business. Because why not? He's a Savoy. Thus, the Savoy's legacy isn't just about ruling, it's about leaving a mark. Even in exile, they dreamt big, aiming to reclaim their crown jewels, a dazzling hoard of diamonds and pearls that could rival any royal Instagram feed, and they're not done yet. The family's home city of Turin, for instance, is home to not one, not two, but 11 unique palaces, containing rooms full of everything a ruler could ever wish for, from the royal armory to a private royal theatre. It seems that when you're as powerful as a Savoy, the idea of sitting next to a member of the common folk is not one that even enters your mind. Furthermore, it is important to note that without the efforts that the Savoy dynasty went to unify Italy, there may well have been no kingdom to rule in the first place. They were arguably the only family throughout the history of Italy to ever stand a chance of unifying the country. This feat alone exemplifies their dominance completely. However, it wasn't just military might and geographical control that the Savoy exerted. Many members of this illustrious family were also loved by the Italian people. Margherita of Savoy, for instance, was so loved by the people whom she visited in their schools and hospitals that they named the Margherita pizza, a pizza which represents the Italian flag, after her. This same name has been carried forward for centuries and is now firmly embedded in Italian culture. So, it's undeniable that the Savoy family was, and in many ways continues to be, one of the most dominant that Italy has ever seen. But where did this all begin? To answer that question, we need to travel back, not to a part of Italy, but interestingly, to southern France. Yes, this great Italian family didn't start its journey in Italy. Instead, the name Savoy actually originates from the Savoia region in the south of France, with most historians placing the birth of what would become the Savoy dynasty with Humbert I, who acquired the county of Savoy, among other areas, to the east of the Rhine River in 1003. But it wasn't until Humbert's son, Otto of Savoy, ascended to the leader of the family that the Savoys began to take an interest in the beauty of Italy. This arose out of his marriage to the Marchioness Adelaide of Turin, which effectively gave the family control of the then small towns of Turin and Pinerolo. Now, in the 11th century, Italy was a patchwork of power struggles, far from the ideal battleground for ambitious small-time nobles seeking to extend their dominion. That's where the Normans come in, a group of audacious warriors from the north of France, known for their military prowess and strategic acumen. See, they had set their sights on the lush landscapes of southern Italy, embroiled in a protracted campaign to cement their influence. And amid this contentious backdrop, Otto of Savoy made a series of calculated maneuvers that would defy the odds. By securing the cities of Piedmont and Sabodia, Otto didn't just gain territories, he acquired key chess pieces in the complex game of medieval politics. These towns were crucial, not just for their strategic locations that bridged gaps between various trade routes, but also for their potential to bolster the family's influence. Piedmont, with its fertile valleys, and Sabodia, a gateway to the Alps, became the foundation stones upon which the Savoy dynasty would build its legacy, turning a challenging era into a stepping stone towards greatness. And Otto's successors continued this modest expansion, and though small, the house did begin to grow their influence and cement power in the following years. Amadeus V, for instance, introduced the law of primogeniture, passing the dynasty's power to the firstborn male to the house in the latter part of the 13th century, thereby ensuring that the family's assets would not be fragmented upon the death of the house leader. And his grandson, Amadeus VII, made a particularly significant advancement in the late 1300s, capturing the port of Nice in France. With a port, new trade routes were opened for the Savoys, bolstering their still modest power significantly. Then, in 1416, the Holy Roman Emperor Sigismund, recognizing the ever-rising power of the house, promoted the then leader, Amadeus VIII, to Duke of Savoy. This elevation from simple regional lords to official dukes was a monumental leap, marking the Savoys as key players on the European stage. It gave the upstart family political legitimacy and opened avenues for strategic alliances, significantly enhancing their influence. Therefore, the advancement not only solidified the Savoys' authority over their territories, but also forecasted a promising future, ripe with opportunities for expansion and increased prestige. However, in a surprising twist, a period of incredibly weak rulers followed, putting this trajectory to a grinding halt. Family rulers such as Amadeus VIII's son, Louis, and Philbert II lacked the political savvy and military prowess necessary to safeguard their domain. Therefore, Louis's indecisiveness and Philbert II's focus on personal pursuits over statecraft weakened the Savoy, making it ripe for conquest. Their leadership was so poor, in fact, that the Savoys lost control of their land to the French in 1536. Therefore, to regain his family's lands, leader Emmanuel Philibert made a tactical move to serve France's primary enemy, the Habsburgs, serving as governor of the Netherlands from 1555 to 1559. During this time, Philibert led the Spanish to victory at St. Quentin and subsequently used his newfound force to slowly regain his lands. Whilst the other houses quibbled over politics, House Savoy slowly reaffirmed its status, notably recapturing both Turin and Nice. Toward the turn of the century, therefore, House Savoy had affirmed itself as a major player in the ongoing battle for European dominance, and in the following years, their status only rose to new heights. Following in his father's footsteps, Emmanuel II devoted his life to improving the status of the Savoy family in the 17th century. Notably, he drastically improved the economic welfare of Turin, helping it to become a more significant force in the European market. Emmanuel also took advantage of the port of Nice, developing a road through the perilous French Alps and opening up trade routes to France. With this newfound economic stability, coupled with political savvy, House Savoy only continued to grow throughout the 17th century until a perilous war of succession broke out in Spain. The war was a pivotal moment in deciding the balance of power in Europe, as its outcome would determine the distribution of the assets of the Spanish Empire, which crumbled after the death of King Charles II. Savoy leader Victor Amadeus chose to again side with the Habsburgs, and this decision single-handedly changed the trajectory of the House of Savoy forever. Specifically, the war's complexity and the shifting allegiances underscored the diplomatic acuity of Victor Amadeus, and his decision to side with the Habsburgs, led by Emperor Leopold I and later his sons, Joseph I and Charles VI, showcased his ability to navigate the volatile European political landscape. And though this alliance was not without risks, Victor Amadeus's gamble paid off when the Treaty of Utrecht was concluded in 1713. Now this treaty was a series of agreements that reshaped the map of Europe, ending the War of the Spanish Succession. It redistributed territories among the warring powers, and for Victor Amadeus of the House of Savoy, it brought an unprecedented reward. In recognition of his contributions to the Habsburg victory, the treaty elevated him from Duke of Savoy to King of Sicily. Indeed, House Savoy had, after centuries of work, finally reached the status of monarchs. Their rule of Sicily would only last 7 years, however, as the War of the Quadruple Alliance forced them to exchange their kingdom for Sardinia in 1720. Although initially a setback, rule over the Kingdom of Sardinia actually proved to be very fruitful for the Savoys. With Sardinia as their new power base, the Savoys adeptly exploited the subsequent wars of the Polish and Austrian successions. Their strategic acumen during these conflicts enabled them to annex parts of the Duchy of Milan, significantly bolstering their mainland holdings. Yet, as the French Revolution shook the foundations of monarchies across Europe, the Kingdom of Sardinia, under the Savoys' rule, stood in opposition to the rising tide of revolutionary fervour. Their defiance culminated in a confrontation with Napoleon at the Battle of Mondovi in 1796, a clash that ended in a stinging defeat for the Savoys, casting a long shadow over their realm's political fortunes. Notably, the kingdom was forced to bend the knee and sign the Treaty of Paris, giving the French free roam to march through the Savoys region of Piedmont. Further unrest followed in 1798, as King Charles Emmanuel IV was forced to abdicate the throne in favour of his brother Felix. Luckily, this family squabble did not ruin the kingdom, which was restored in 1814 with the addition of advantageous new territories such as Genoa. In the following decades, power in the Savoy kingdom continued to grow to a point where, by the coronation of King Charles Albert in 1831, the Savoys were widely regarded as the best force to unite the tattered fragments of the Italian kingdoms. Specifically, their strategic marriages and territorial expansions during the 18th century had significantly enhanced their prestige and influence, and they were perceived as less threatening by other Italian rulers and more palatable to foreign powers, who were wary of a strong, unified Italy. Embracing the winds of change, Charles Albert, a Savvy, introduced the Statuto Albertino in 1848, a forward-looking constitution that promised civil liberties and established a parliamentary system, laying the groundwork for the Kingdom of Italy, with the Savoys as their monarch. From this point forward, the Savoys were officially the rulers, not just of a few cities, but the entirety of Italy. However, almost as soon as this unification began, the influence of the Savoy family started to dwindle as the idea of a parliamentary system based on equality started to gain traction. This shift was not merely a political transition, but also a reflection of changing societal values, increasingly at odds with the idea of hereditary rule. And the decline in public support for the monarchy was precipitated by specific events that underscored the growing chasm between the royal family and the Italian people. One such event was the tragic massacre of protesters by King Charles Albert's forces in 1865, a brutal suppression of dissent that left an irremovable stain on the monarchy's reputation. And this event was not isolated. The monarchy's image suffered further damage under King Umberto I, particularly due to his endorsement of the Bava Beccaris massacre in 1898, where troops fired on demonstrators protesting against rising bread prices, resulting in numerous casualties. King Umberto's praise for General Fiorenzo Bava Beccaris, the architect of this bloody repression, exacerbated public outrage. Consequently, the culmination of this mounting discontent was the assassination of King Umberto I in July 1900 by the anarchist Gaetano Bresci. Bresci, motivated by a desire to avenge the victims of the Bava Beccaris massacre and to protest the monarchy's oppressive actions, symbolized the deep-seated resentment against a dynasty increasingly viewed as out of touch with the aspirations of a modern, unified Italy. Thus, this series of events illustrates a dramatic reversal of fortune for the Savoy family, who, having ascended to the zenith of power through the unification of Italy, found their legacy tarnished and their authority challenged by the very forces of progress and unity they had helped to unleash. Almost as soon as the family reached the peak of their power, they seemingly had it all taken away. Now, public opinion settled after this crescendo of violence until the First World War broke out in 1914, and the consequences of this catastrophic war were particularly onerous to Italy. And because various promises made by the rest of Europe in the Treaty of Versailles were broken, Italy's economy crumbled. In this landscape, the ideas of fascism began to grow in a large contingent of the public's mind. And in 1922, a pivotal figure, Benito Mussolini, led a fascist protest, later dubbed the March on Rome, outside of the country's capital. The state of affairs rose to a point in which Prime Minister Luigi Facta declared a state of siege on Rome, which, if approved, would allow the army to deal with the fascists. However, to be passed, it needed royal assent. King Victor Emmanuel III, a member of the House of Savoy who had ascended to the throne amidst these tumultuous times, faced a dilemma of historic proportions. His refusal to sign the order for a state of siege was not a decision made lightly, but was influenced by a complex web of factors. Foremost among these was his concern over the potential for civil war, which seemed an all-too-possible outcome if the army was deployed against the fascists. Indeed, the king feared that such a conflict could tear the nation apart and undermine the very fabric of the Italian state. Additionally, there was a lack of confidence in the loyalty of the army to the monarchy, raising doubts about the effectiveness of such a move. Moreover, Victor Emmanuel III was acutely aware of the widespread support Mussolini had managed to amass, not only among the general populace, but also within key segments of the Italian elite, including the business community and even parts of the military. Given these considerations, the king's refusal to sign the order was driven by a calculated, albeit controversial, bid to avoid bloodshed and preserve the monarchy's position within the rapidly changing political landscape of Italy. His decision, however, had far-reaching implications. On the 28th of October 1922, faced with Mussolini's unwavering demand for control and the apparent inevitability of his ascent to power, King Victor Emmanuel III capitulated. Mussolini was invited to form a government, a move that effectively sanctioned the fascist takeover and marked the beginning of a new authoritarian chapter in Italian history. Under the rule of Mussolini, the practices of democracy, the rule of law and respect for the constitution were quickly forgotten. By the end of the decade, the power of the monarchy was a mere fantasy, and Mussolini had the de facto control of the kingdom. War and brutal violence ensued, starting in 1936, when Mussolini conquered Ethiopia, giving Victor Emmanuel the title of Emperor. Albania was also conquered in 1939, before joining the Axis powers in World War II. As the Italian court watched the terrors that the Axis powers committed throughout the World War II years, it became clear that something had to be done. Thus, on the 24th of July 1943, Emmanuel dismissed Mussolini from office after a vote of no confidence was reached, and in September of the same year, the government announced that it was siding with the Allies. The fascist contingent still present in Italy was gradually removed in the following years. However, throughout this course of political events, one thing could not be forgotten. Victor Emmanuel had originally shown support for Mussolini. In the eyes of much of the public, it was this king of the House of Savoy, and him alone, who granted this plague into Italian governance, and because of this, for the public, he could not be trusted in the post-war years. Aware of this, and desperate to keep the Savoy name alive, Victor Emmanuel transferred the majority of his powers to his son, Umberto, in 1944. After Rome was liberated around 2 months later, Emmanuel crowned his son Lieutenant General of the realm. However, public opinion was still divided, and in 1946, a referendum was held to decide whether Italy should retain the monarchy. To try and sway public opinion, Victor Emmanuel formally abdicated on the 9th of May, thereby crowning his son king. However, the damage had already been done, and nothing Victor Emmanuel could have ever done would have changed the fact that he's seen as the reason Mussolini rose to power. The anti-monarchists received 54% of the vote, and Victor Emmanuel was swiftly exiled to Egypt, where he drew his last breath just a year later. Therefore, the 12th of June 1946 saw the official dissolution of the Kingdom of Italy, and Umberto formally transferred his powers to the Prime Minister Alcide de Gasperi before being exiled to Portugal, where he remained until his death in 1983. Italy's new constitution also provided that any descendants of the Savoy family would, like their former king, be banned from entering the country. This ban was eventually dropped back in 2002 on the condition that Vittorio Emanuele, the last rightful claimant of the Savoy dynasty, renounced any claim to the throne. However, before this exile was lifted, the once so powerful family reportedly engaged in some, shall we say, murky activities. In 1991, for instance, Vittorio was found guilty of unauthorized possession of a firearm after a 13-year court proceeding surrounding the death of Dirk Hamer. Later, in 2006, he was arrested and imprisoned in Potenza for corruption and recruitment of prostitutes. Luckily for him, he only slept in a prison cell for a few nights before being removed and placed under house arrest. After serving his sentence, Vittorio did eventually make a legal return to Italy in 2002, before trying and failing to claim a compensatory figure of €260 million for the exile. They didn't stay in Italy for long, though, choosing to remain at their castle in Geneva, Switzerland. Now, because of this deep and rather polarizing history, you may be under the assumption that in the 21st century, the Savoy family have little in the way of influence and power. However, this couldn't be further from the truth. For one thing, all of the former residences of the Savoy family have been protected as a World Heritage Site. This means that, even when the last living Savoy draws their last breath, they will still have a hold on the land of Italy, in one way or another. Furthermore, the members of the Savoy family, despite having all claims to the throne and royal powers renounced, have kept their royal names. Vittorio, up until his death for instance, had the title Prince of Naples, despite having no real claim to the city. Ultimately, the story of the Savoy dynasty, unfolding over centuries, is a rich blend of victories and challenges. Their heritage, marked by both admiration and debate, underscores their significant influence on Italian history, and without a doubt, Italy's past would have been vastly different without the Savoy name. In the glittering and dramatic panorama of British high society, one family's legacy radiates with extraordinary influence, charm, and controversy. The Spencer-Churchills, a name that's become an emblem of power, prestige, and paradox, have become far more than just aristocrats. They've etched their name indelibly into the stones of history, with the expected next King of England himself being of partial Spencer-Churchill stock. Boasting an unparalleled lineage, their story is a rollercoaster of triumphs, trials, and world-shaping events. It's no ordinary tale of nobility. It's a spectacular saga with characters as legendary as Winston Churchill, Britain's invincible wartime hero, and as beloved as Princess Diana, the people's princess who took the world by storm. Their journey from sheep herding to powerful earls to the throne room of British monarchy is filled with startling twists and turns, heart-stopping moments of sheer drama, and an ever-radiating legacy that has captivated the world. In today's episode of Old Money Luxury, join us as we unveil the exhilarating tale of England's most famous aristocrats, the Spencer-Churchill family. In the pastoral world of 15th century England, amidst the bleating of sheep and the hard-earned sweat of shepherds, emerged a lineage that would shape the course of British high society for centuries to come. This was the Spencer lineage, and at its foundation stood a simple, hard-working sheep farmer, Henry Spencer. Close on Henry's heels was his relative, John Spencer, a practical man who possessed both a head for business and a heart for his flock. By 1469, John had earned a position of responsibility, a trustee in Warwickshire. He further spread his influence by becoming a tenant at Althrup in Northamptonshire in 1486. Enter the stage Sir John Spencer, John's ambitious and industrious nephew. With a keen sense for opportunity, Sir John Spencer first filled his coffers through the lucrative business of livestock trading and commodity exchange. His fortunes grew and his vision expanded, ultimately enabling him to acquire the lands of Wormleighton and Althrup. Thus the Spencer family set their foot on the ladder of wealth and prestige, an ascent that was only to continue. The era was marked by the rich tapestry of the Middle Ages, where sheep held not only practical but also economic importance. More than their meat, it was their wool that was sought after, fueling a booming textile industry. Amidst this demand, the Spencers, with their abundant flocks, found themselves in a position of power. Yet Sir John Spencer was not one to rest on the laurels of just one successful industry. He foresaw the benefits of diversifying, and with strategic brilliance, leveraged his profits to acquire significant expanses of real estate. In 1511, he astutely added the villages of Little Brington and Great Brington, along with the parish church of St. Mary the Virgin, to his estates. Althrup became the Spencers' sanctuary, a home for 19 generations that followed. You see, in the grand scheme of 16th century England, wealth was more than just a cushion of comfort. It was a gilded ticket to social prestige and political influence. For Sir John Spencer, this wealth opened doors previously unimaginable. In 1519, he was knighted by none other than King Henry VIII himself. His death 3 years later saw him buried with honour in the family chapel at Great Brington. As the centuries turned, the Spencer name echoed powerfully through the corridors of the Parliament. Sir Robert Spencer, the grandson of Sir John, stepped into his forefather's shoes, representing Brackley with distinction. Knighted and granted a barony, he was thought to be England's richest man under King James I. The Spencers' rise stirred envy among the old guard, particularly the established Howards. In a heated debate in the House of Peers, Lord Spencer was criticised for his family's humble beginnings. Yet, with an unyielding spirit, Lord Spencer retorted with a sharp jibe about treason, insinuating that humble beginnings could indeed lead to greatness. As the tapestry of the Spencer saga continued to unfurl, their influence and power surged, crystallising in their rise to becoming the Dukes of Marlborough and Earls Spencer. These titles, steeped in history and prestige, were a glittering testimony to the Spencers' remarkable journey from sheep pastures to the pinnacle of British aristocracy. Amidst this swirling narrative of power and prestige, a particularly vibrant thread stands out: the indomitable Sarah Churchill. Her life, immortalised in the recent silver screen epic The Favourite, adds a touch of fiery intrigue to the Spencer history. Sarah, born a Churchill, was the wife of John Churchill, the first Duke of Marlborough. In 1817, a significant development would bring the Spencers and Churchills closer together, leading to the confluence of their surnames. George Spencer, then the 5th Duke of Marlborough, decided to assume the additional surname of Churchill in honour of his illustrious ancestor John Churchill. This decision was in part to preserve the name itself, which risked extinction with the lack of male heirs, but also to stake a claim on the legacy and prestige attached to the name of Churchill. The legal process of name change involved a royal licence, but once completed, the Spencers henceforth became known as the Spencer-Churchills, intertwining these two powerful families in the annals of British nobility. This union underscored the Spencers' dominance and further elevated their standing, adding another thrilling chapter to their remarkable saga. The narrative of British history would be incomplete without mentioning one of its most enduring figures, Sir Winston Churchill. Born on November 30th, 1874, Winston Leonard Spencer-Churchill was a direct descendant of the Duke of Marlborough. His father, Lord Randolph Churchill, was a charismatic politician, and his mother, Jenny Jerome, was an American heiress. Winston's early life as a Spencer-Churchill shaped him into a man of indomitable spirit, resilience, and remarkable intellect. As a young man in his 20s and 30s, Churchill's life was marked by tremendous highs and devastating lows. He had a somewhat tumultuous military career, served as a war correspondent, and began his political journey as a liberal before defecting to the Conservative Party. He weathered failures and rejections, most notably the Dardanelles disaster during World War I, which nearly spelled the end of his political career. Despite the trials, his indefatigable spirit saw him bounce back each time, affirming the Spencer-Churchill mettle. At the zenith of his career, during the harrowing days of World War II, Churchill's leadership shone the brightest. As Prime Minister, he steered Britain with his inspirational speeches and unbending will, refusing to capitulate to the forces of Nazi Germany. His family life, marked by a stable marriage to Clementine Hosier and fatherhood to 5 children, provided a much-needed counterbalance to his demanding political life. Clementine especially served as a pillar of support, influencing Churchill's decisions and helping him navigate the tumultuous waters of politics and war. Churchill's impact on British society was profound and lasting. His unwavering resolve during World War II bolstered the spirits of a beleaguered nation. His stirring speeches roused the British people to fight and persevere, instilling in them a sense of hope, courage, and national pride. Churchill was not just a statesman, but a prolific writer whose works earned him the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1953. He also played a significant role in shaping post-war international relations, particularly through his Iron Curtain speech, which arguably marked the onset of the Cold War. The legacy of the Spencer-Churchills did not end with Winston. As the pages of history turned, another figure would emerge from this noble lineage, captivating the world with her charm, compassion, and tragic story. This figure was none other than Lady Diana Spencer, who would become the People's Princess, forever embedding the Spencer-Churchill name in the hearts of the British people and the world. Born into the noble Spencer family on July 1, 1961, Lady Diana Frances Spencer, affectionately known as Princess Diana, emerged from the tranquil setting of her family's estate in Sandringham, Norfolk, a harbinger of things to come, as Sandringham is one of the ruling Windsor family's favourite retreats. Her early life and upbringing was steeped in the traditions of the British aristocracy, which laid the foundation for her future role as a royal. One of the more intriguing aspects of Diana's lineage is its intertwining with numerous notable historical figures. Astonishingly, Diana could count the first President of the United States, George Washington, as her eighth cousin, 5 times removed. Moreover, Diana even shared an unexpected familial connection with Audrey Hepburn, the iconic Hollywood actress. The two were distant cousins, connected through Dutch nobility. The values that Diana grew up with, the education she received, and the experiences she had as a child and young woman played an instrumental role in molding her into the people's princess. She was educated in England and Switzerland, where she developed an interest in music, dance, and social service. Her mother, Frances Shand Kidd, instilled in Diana a strong sense of empathy and a commitment to charity, which would later become defining features of her public life. While her lineage and upbringing were undeniably influential, it was her fateful meeting with Prince Charles, the heir apparent to the British throne, that would propel Diana Spencer from the aristocratic circles into the global spotlight. The journey from Lady Diana Spencer to Princess Diana was about to begin, forever altering the course of her life and leaving an indelible mark on the history of the British monarchy. Lady Diana Spencer's relationship with Prince Charles was a tale of whirlwind romance, marred by subsequent turmoil. Their courtship began in 1980, when Diana was just 19, and Charles, the Prince of Wales, was 32. Despite their age difference and contrasting personalities, the couple got engaged in February 1981. Their wedding, on July 29, 1981, was a spectacle that caught the imagination of an estimated 750 million people across the globe. The awe-inspiring ceremony at St. Paul's Cathedral, suffused with grandeur, wasn't merely the epitome of a fairy tale wedding. It signified a monumental union that connected the distinguished aristocratic lineage of the Spencer-Churchills with the regal House of Windsor. However, soon the strain between nobility and royalty became apparent despite Diana's noble heritage. Her lineage, though noble and aristocratic, was occasionally belittled in the context of the royal household. Conforming to the rigid protocols and unyielding traditions of the royal family, Diana often found herself under pressure to meet royal standards, despite her blue-blooded ancestry. The Spencer-Churchill family, following Diana's marriage, were thrust into the international spotlight, their every move subject to public scrutiny. This newfound fame, an offshoot of their connection to the royal family, was unlike anything the family had encountered. Yet they maintained their distinct identity and aristocratic standing, continuing to influence British society, successfully straddling their traditional status and their recent royal connection. The tragic demise of Diana in 1997 sent shockwaves through the Spencer-Churchill family and the world. Yet, they demonstrated remarkable resilience amidst the heartbreak. Charles, the 9th Earl Spencer and Diana's younger brother, emerged as a stalwart pillar of support. His poignant eulogy at her funeral underscored the enduring strength and dignity of the Spencer-Churchill lineage. As such, the story of the Spencer-Churchill family continued to bring to life the complex interplay of British aristocracy and royalty. It's a tale that weaves together history, influence, and resilience, a saga that continues to fascinate, offering a rich tapestry of the enduring allure of the British upper echelons. However, as the story of any family saga unfolds, it becomes apparent that aristocrats, like all others, are not immune to human frailty or controversy. The Spencer-Churchill dynasty is no exception. At the forefront is James Spencer-Churchill, the 12th Duke of Marlborough. Throughout much of his life, he was no stranger to scandal, his conduct straying far from the traditional stoicism of the aristocracy. His encounters with the law ranged from a month-long prison sentence for forging prescriptions in 1995 to another 6 months in jail for dangerous driving and criminal damage in 2007. In 2013, he faced accusations of spewing racial abuse toward a Sikh cab driver. His involvement in the BBC television documentary, Famous, Rich and Homeless, only added fuel to the fire, his refusal to fully participate in the experience earning public censure. Yet, despite these tumultuous episodes, he reportedly managed a remarkable turnaround, reconciling with his father, who once called him the black sheep of the family. Like many members in the Spencer-Churchill lineage, Jamie Blandford, as he's commonly called, also connects the old world of British aristocracy with the affluent American Vanderbilt lineage, through his great-grandmother, Consuelo Vanderbilt. Now, the heir apparent, George Spencer-Churchill, Marquis of Blandford, is heavily involved in the aristocratic world of polo and has served as a model and brand ambassador for the La Martina brand of polo clothes and accessories since 2015. His sporting interests extend beyond the polo field, as demonstrated by his rowing across the Atlantic Ocean in 35 days, raising over £850,000 for Starlight Children's charity in the process. In keeping with tradition, Lord Blandford married Camilla Elizabeth Antonia Thorpe, a fellow aristocrat and descendant of the Tempest baronets of Tong, Yorkshire, further solidifying the family's aristocratic ties. Alternatively to some of the more salacious behaviours of the patriarchs of the Spencer-Churchill clan in the recent decades, the Spencer-Churchill women have carved out laudable careers. Lady Mary Soames, the youngest daughter of Sir Winston Churchill, and his wife Clementine, was a dynamic figure whose contributions to British society extended well beyond her role as the daughter of one of the country's most revered prime ministers. Born in September 1922, she was a beacon of resilience and strength, embodying the same spirit that defined her father's leadership during World War II. During her lifetime, she made significant strides in both public service and literature. She served with the Auxiliary Territorial Service during the Second World War, a reflection of her dedication to her country in a period of immense upheaval. Moreover, Lady Soames was an acclaimed author, using her unique insights into British history and her personal experiences as a member of the Churchill family to write several books. Her works include a biography of her mother, Clementine Churchill, and a compilation of her parents' letters and correspondence, providing a valuable and intimate perspective on her family's remarkable history. Known for her grace, intellect, and sense of duty, Lady Soames was recognised with numerous accolades. She was made a Dame Commander of the Order of the British Empire for her public service, particularly for her work with the Royal National Theatre Board and the Churchill Houses Trust. Her death in 2014 marked the end of an era, as she was the last surviving child of Sir Winston and Lady Churchill. Henrietta Spencer-Churchill, the eldest daughter of the 11th Duke of Marlborough, is a prominent figure in the world of interior design. Embracing her family's rich history and artistic heritage, she has leveraged her intuitive sense of style and keen eye for detail to establish two highly successful design companies, Woodstock Designs and Spencer-Churchill Designs. Henrietta's work isn't confined to the British Isles. She has undertaken projects worldwide, spanning from the United States to Russia, showcasing her versatility and adaptability to different cultural aesthetics. Moreover, Henrietta has shared her design expertise and insights into the history of Blenheim Palace, the ancestral home of the Spencer-Churchills, through numerous publications. Arabella Spencer-Churchill, a granddaughter of Sir Winston Churchill, also made a significant impact in her own distinct way. As a co-founder of the Glastonbury Festival, one of the world's largest and most famous music and arts festivals, she played a pivotal role in shaping the UK's contemporary cultural scene. Moreover, she harnessed her influence to do good, establishing numerous charities including the Children's World Charity. This organisation provides educational and social opportunities for children, particularly those with special needs in the UK and overseas. Despite her untimely death in 2007, Arabella's legacy of philanthropy and cultural contribution endures. Thus, the narrative of the Spencer-Churchills is a riveting blend of controversy and commendation, displaying a spectrum that ranges from misdemeanours to merit. This saga reflects their unwavering resilience amidst a diverse array of trials and tribulations. They continue to stand as an emblem of the intricate complexities and fascinating contradictions that define those born into the noble lineage of the aristocracy. Imagine you were the childless heir to a multi-billion-dollar fashion empire in your twilight years. Who would you write in your will to receive that fabulously large inheritance? Would you follow the more conventional route of passing it over to a direct family member, or perhaps take the Carnegie route and give it all away to philanthropic causes of your choosing? However, what if you, and hear us out on this one, considered a shockingly bold gesture of gratitude, such as bequeathing it to a practically anonymous person who made a profound impact on your life in an unexpected way? Indeed, in a move that can only be described as a remarkable deviation from the expected, Nicolas Puech, an 80-year-old mega-wealthy, old money heir of the Hermes dynasty worth roughly $13 billion, has decided to leave many of his billions not to the usual suspects of charity organizations or distant relatives, but to his gardener. Yes, his gardener. This isn't just any gardener, and this fellow, a 51-year-old father of Moroccan descent, has clearly done more than just tend to Puech's petunias. Described affectionately as an adopted son, he has become the unlikely heir to a fortune built on luxury fashion. But the details of Puech's original succession plan are as complex as one might expect from a tycoon. You see, originally, Puech's plan was to leave his entire fortune, estimated to be worth around $13 billion, to the Isocrates Foundation, a charity of his own making, focused on supporting journalism. Indeed, a previously signed inheritance contract with the foundation stipulates that Puech's shares in Hermes, a substantial 5.7%, would go to the foundation, unless he fathers a child. However, in a dramatic twist, he's attempting to sever ties with the foundation and leave around $7 billion worth of shares to his gardener by adopting him. But before we give you the sordid details of who will get their hands on the pot of gold, the foundation, or the family man gardener who could gain generational wealth overnight, we have to start at the beginning and explain just how one heir, among hundreds, could give away $13 billion while his family members remain wealthy, as we describe. The history of the Hermes dynasty, a family so rich that $7 billion could go to their gardener. In the high-stakes world of luxury fashion, the Hermes family, or the Dumas and Puech clans, has crafted a narrative as captivating as the intricate designs of their coveted Birkin bags. Their net worth, a kaleidoscope of wealth and fashion legacy, soared by a staggering $56 billion in 2023, and its sumptuous source is their reign over the French fashion titan, Hermes. This iconic house, like a perfectly tailored suit, fit the year 2023 like a glove, with a 35% rise in share value, embellishing their fortune to an estimated $151 billion. Indeed, such figures don't just speak, they shout in luxurious tones. At the helm of this luxury leviathan is Axel Dumas, a sixth-generation family member and a direct descendant of founder Thierry Hermes. Since assuming the role of Hermes CEO in 2014, Dumas has skillfully navigated Hermes through the competitive luxury boom of the last decade, elevating the brand to become the world's second-largest luxury company by market capitalization. And his leadership has been particularly impactful in expanding Hermes's presence in international markets, with a notable emphasis on Asia. And then there's Bertrand Puech, another family patriarch and brother of the aforementioned Nicolas Puech, who played a pivotal role in safeguarding the independence and family-led ethos of Hermes. His strategic maneuvers were crucial in thwarting the advances of Bernard Arnault, the one-time richest man in the world and founder of luxury conglomerate LVMH, who had allegedly sought to engage in a hostile takeover of Hermes. But Puech's actions were instrumental in ensuring that control of Hermes remained within the family, a move that has undoubtedly contributed to the brand's continued success and prestige. However, the Hermes family is much, much more than just a couple of multi-billionaire shrewd business operators. Indeed, this fashion mega-dynasty has a diverse and influential ensemble of over 100 members, with many continually exerting a profound influence over Hermes International. This illustrious group collectively owns more than 2/3 of the luxury goods maker, ensuring that the decisions and direction of the company are deeply entwined with the family's vision and legacy. As the Hermes family looks to the future, several members, including those from the Dumas wing of the empire, are preparing to launch a family investment structure, expected to be operational in 2024. This development indicates a strategic diversification of the family's interests and assets, further solidifying their influence and legacy in the world of luxury fashion. But how exactly does a so-called family business manage to not only survive, but thrive in the legendarily ultra-competitive luxury goods sector of the 21st century? Well, you might be surprised to learn that the secret isn't found in the classic old money playbook of changing the structure of generational trusts, the way the Rockefellers did, or placing your children at the top of each company under management, the way that Bernard Arnault has mostly done. You see, the key to the Hermes dynasty growing to unfathomable heights is in its unique business structure, which we'll investigate in the next chapter. In the bustling landscape of luxury fashion, the rise of Hermes stands out, defying the Goliaths of the industry with its unique blend of exclusivity and artisanal craftsmanship. And this French luxury brand, established in 1837 by Thierry Hermes, didn't ascend to prominence through the usual paths of mass production or ubiquitous marketing campaigns. Instead, it carved a niche through a steadfast commitment to a unique mix of exclusivity and high-quality craftsmanship. Specifically, while powerhouses like Gucci, Yves Saint Laurent, and Louis Vuitton flexed their muscles with aggressive strategies, Hermes pursued a different path. For instance, LVMH Group, known for Louis Vuitton among other mega fashion brands, spent around 9.5 billion euros on advertising and promotion costs worldwide in 2022, while Hermes has always played a different game. Its marketing expenses are a mere fraction of its revenue, about 4%. And this decision is not born out of frugality, but a strategic choice to maintain an aura of exclusivity. Undoubtedly, this understated approach has cultivated a mystique that continues to attract a dedicated clientele, and its products, unlike those of its competitors, are not available online and are rarely seen in stores. The brand operates on an invitation-only model, where high-spending, loyal customers are offered the chance to purchase their coveted products. To even be considered for the purchase of a Hermes bag, customers must first demonstrate their loyalty through consistent purchases of other Hermes items, such as scarves, perfumes, or jewelry. And this strategy of controlled scarcity has transformed Hermes products, especially the iconic Birkin and Kelly bags, into highly sought-after treasures that often appreciate in value, a rarity in fashion accessories. Furthermore, the production process of each Hermes bag is an icon of traditional craftsmanship and meticulous skill. Each bag is handcrafted by artisans in France, with the creation of a single Birkin bag taking up to 48 hours of labor. Additionally, Hermes artisans undergo a rigorous training regime, including a 4-year apprenticeship and an 18-month mentorship, before they're allowed to craft a bag. This emphasis on artisanal craftsmanship starkly contrasts with the industry's lean towards automation and mass production. And in the secondary market, where pre-owned luxury goods are traded, Hermes bags become even more valuable. Their rarity and exclusivity often lead to an appreciation in value, with returns outstripping traditional investments like the S&P 500 or gold. This remarkable phenomenon highlights Hermes's unique position in the luxury market, transcending the typical ebb and flow of fashion trends. Even more curiously, there was no evidence available during this moment a few decades ago that this family-owned brand would someday be able to go toe-to-toe against fashion's corporate leviathans, such as the $500 billion LVMH. In fact, Hermes seemed poised to be a relatively small boutique brand for its whole history until a few financial plot twists entered the picture, starting with the birth of its first patriarch, Thierry Hermes. The multi-billion-dollar Hermes saga begins with Thierry Hermes, born in 1801 in Krefeld, Germany, under Napoleon's vast empire. This geographical and political backdrop granted Thierry French citizenship, a twist of fate for a child born to a French father and a German mother, a blend of cultures that undoubtedly influenced the young Hermes, shaping his future endeavors. Now, Krefeld, often lauded as the city of velvet and silk, offered a rich cultural milieu for young Thierry. And Thierry was the youngest sibling in a family of 6, raised in the warm embrace of innkeepers. However, his childhood narrative was marred by loss, as disease and war claimed his family, tragically rendering him an orphan. Seeking new horizons, Thierry migrated to Paris in 1821. As always, a city buzzing with innovation and opportunity. After several years, the family resettled in Pont-Audemer, where Thierry honed his leatherworking skills, a craft that would later become his hallmark. By 1837, the seeds of the Hermes brand were sown in the Grand Boulevard quarter of Paris, where Thierry established a harness workshop. And Hermes's workshop quickly earned a reputation for impeccable quality, specializing in harnesses and bridles for Europe's carriage trade. Thierry's artistry was not just in creating functional items, but in elevating them to objects of beauty, and his harnesses became a fixture in Paris's Expositions Universelles, speaking to his unmatched skill. Consequently, the evolution of Hermes under Thierry's watchful eye was remarkable. He shifted from harnesses to crafting exquisite saddles, capturing the hearts of the equestrian elite. For example, the Haute Courroie bag, designed for saddles and riding boots, marked the brand's foray into luxury accessories. And Thierry's personal life was equally rich, marked by his marriage to Christine Petronille Pierrat and the birth of his son, Charles-Émile. Upon Thierry's passing in 1878, the helm of Hermes passed to Charles-Émile, and later to his sons Adolphe and Émile Maurice. Thereafter, the family relocated the shop to 24 Rue du Faubourg Saint-Honoré, embedding the Hermes legacy in the heart of Paris, where it proudly stands today. However, the new storefront was just the beginning of the future multi-billion-dollar family enterprise, and patriarch Thierry could have never seen what would happen next, as his descendants took the reins, or, should we say, grabbed the tote handles. In the dynamic heart of 19th century Paris, Charles-Émile Hermes emerged as a visionary leader in the luxury goods industry. See, in 1880, Charles-Émile, endowed with his father's entrepreneurial spirit, took the helm of the Hermes store, steering it through a transformative era in Paris, marked by the dramatic urban overhaul spearheaded by Baron Haussmann. And this period of upheaval, far from destabilizing the Hermes enterprise, presented an auspicious opportunity. With the demolition of its original store looming, a serendipitous eviction payment enabled Charles-Émile to relocate to a grander premise on the prestigious Rue du Faubourg Saint-Honoré, an address that Hermes proudly maintains to this day as its global headquarters. This strategic move in 1880 and the store's grand opening in 1889 positioned Hermes not merely as a purveyor of luxury goods, but as a symbol of Parisian shopping elegance. Therefore, Charles-Émile's foresight in diversifying Hermes's offerings proved pivotal. The brand, initially rooted in saddlery and harness making under Thierry's guidance, began embracing an array of products including riding equipment, horse blankets, and silk racing jackets. This expansion not only enriched the brand's portfolio, but also cemented its status as a luxury icon. And beyond the realm of equestrian gear, the brand delved into crafting exquisite leather goods, luggage, and handbags, responding adroitly to the evolving demands of European nobility. This diversification was instrumental in Hermes's metamorphosis from a specialized saddlery to a multifaceted luxury goods behemoth. Now, Charles-Émile Hermes's tenure concluded with his demise in 1916, paving the way for his sons Adolphe and Émile Maurice Hermes to take control. Then, the renaming of the company to Hermes Frères, or the Hermes Brothers, signaled a new chapter, and one where the brand adeptly navigated the shifting tides of society's preferences. And it was Émile Maurice, in particular, whose ingenious leadership propelled Hermes into uncharted territories. His securing of exclusive rights to use the zipper in France was not only a technological triumph, but also a cultural milestone, with the zipper affectionately dubbed Fermeture Hermes locally. Then, Émile Maurice's ingenuity shone brightest when, responding to his wife's difficulty in finding a suitable handbag, he personally designed Hermes's inaugural handbag collection in 1922. This personal touch underscored his commitment to quality and innovation, qualities that have become synonymous with the Hermes brand. Hermes's workforce had burgeoned to 80 skilled saddle craftsmen, a symbol of its unwavering dedication to craftsmanship and luxury. In fact, the brand's prestige soared to royal heights, furnishing none other than the Tsar of Russia with saddles. Then, the Roaring Twenties witnessed Émile Maurice further broadening Hermes's horizons, introducing accessories and clothing collections. He astutely prepared for the brand's longevity by integrating his sons-in-law, Robert Dumas, Jean-René Guérin and Francis Puech, into the business, thereby ensuring that the Hermes legacy would continue to flourish under familial stewardship. After Émile Maurice's passing in 1951, his son-in-law, Robert Dumas, assumed leadership, marking a new era of innovation and success for Hermes. Dumas' tenure was distinguished by several landmark achievements, notably the introduction of the iconic Hermes silk scarf in 1937, which further solidified the brand's reputation in the world of luxury fashion. Indeed, this period was transformative for Hermes, transitioning from its roots as an equestrian accessory specialist to a purveyor of a wider range of luxury goods. Thus, the guidance of Adolphe and especially Émile Maurice during these times was critical. Their foresight and adaptability laid the groundwork for Hermes's ascension to the upper echelons of global high fashion and luxury, a status that the brand continues to enjoy and build upon in the modern era. However, in an unexpected turn of events for an old money dynasty like the Hermes Empire, it would really be the in-laws who would turn the family business into a global fashion hegemon in the coming decades, and lead to the succession crisis we discussed in the beginning of this video. On the 10th of November 1898, Robert Dumas Hermes, not born into the Hermes lineage by blood, but through the marriage of the daughter of Émile Maurice Hermes, was born. However, this matrimonial alliance was not just a union of hearts, but of names, as Robert Dumas adopted the Hermes surname, symbolizing a fusion of families and fortunes. And in these early years of the 20th century, the world was on the cusp of an industrial revolution. Automobiles were starting to replace horse-drawn carriages, signaling a paradigm shift, and this change was mirrored in the evolution of the Hermes company, known initially for its exquisite harnesses and saddles, which began to expand into the realm of luxury goods. Robert Dumas Hermes, under the guidance of his father-in-law, Émile Maurice Hermes, started to steer the company in this new direction. Parallel to Robert's story was that of Jean-René Guérin, Robert's brother-in-law, born in August 1907. Like Robert, Jean-René married into the Hermes family and joined the Hermes company in 1926, and his tenure lasted a remarkable 64 years, during which he played a crucial role in establishing Hermes's global footprint, launching the company's worldwide export division. Together, Robert Dumas Hermes and Jean-René Guérin were at the helm during a pivotal era, and they navigated the brand through a world transformed by technological and cultural shifts, laying the groundwork for Hermes's transition into a purveyor of luxury. For example, in the 1950s, the company introduced its iconic Duke carriage with horse logo and the now famous orange paper boxes. However, it was in 1956 when a Life magazine feature catapulted the brand to new heights. The magazine captured Grace Kelly, the globally famous actress and newly minted Princess of Monaco, using a Hermes bag to discreetly cover her pregnancy. This bag, originally named Sac à Dépêche, was soon rechristened the Kelly bag after the princess, marking its ascent into the annals of fashion history. And in 1961, Hermes ventured into the fragrance industry, launching its subsidiary alongside the debut of the Caléchet scent. This name, a nod to a hooded four-wheeled horse carriage and a reflection of the company's logo, intertwined Hermes's heritage with its modern aspirations. Soon the family added Jean-Louis Robert Frédéric Dumas, born on the 2nd of February 1938 in Paris, as the son of Robert Dumas and a descendant of Émile Maurice Hermes, to the fold. Educated at the prestigious Institut d'études politiques de Paris and the Lycée Janson de Sailly, Jean-Louis' upbringing was not confined to the classrooms of France. His adventurous spirit led him on journeys across Iran, Afghanistan, Nepal, Scandinavia, and Czechoslovakia. Then, in New York, 1963, Jean-Louis Dumas, fresh from his military duties in Algeria, embarked on an adventure across the Atlantic. He landed a position in the buyer training program at Bloomingdale's, a name that resonates with the allure of high fashion and refined taste. And this period in New York was not just a mere stint. It was a crucible that forged Dumas' understanding of what it means to be a merchant, a vital insight that would later shape his approach to the luxury goods sector. But the year 1964 marked the true turning point in Dumas' professional life, as he joined the ranks of Hermes. Stepping into the company under the leadership of his father, Robert Dumas, Jean-Louis was poised to leave an indelible mark on the brand, assuming leadership of the company in 1978. However, before he could truly take the family name and business to new heights, he'd have to steer the brand through its most stagnant and difficult period in the business's history. In 1978, Jean-Louis Dumas, heir to the Hermes legacy, assumed leadership of the company, which, despite its illustrious past, was experiencing stagnation. But Dumas was poised for the challenge, and his tenure soon signaled a rejuvenation for Hermes. For example, Dumas injected a dose of modernity, introducing fresh talent, notably Éric Berger and Bernard Sanz, who reinvigorated the clothing division with new luxury lines. Thus, the 1980s and 90s under Dumas heralded unprecedented growth and creativity for Hermes. The iconic Birkin bag, born from an unexpected meeting between Dumas and actress Jane Birkin in 1984, became a symbol of luxury and a fashion staple. This period also saw Hermes diversify into ready-to-wear for men and home furnishings, widening its appeal and market reach. By 2006, this strategic expansion had borne fruit. Hermes's revenue climbed to $1.9 billion. Therefore, Dumas had not only revitalized the brand, but also redefined luxury on a global scale. His commitment to quality, craftsmanship, and innovation reshaped Hermes, balancing its rich history with contemporary demands. After 28 years, Dumas retired in January 2006. However, in the world of luxury fashion, few sagas rival the drama of LVMH's oncoming pursuit of Hermes, a storyline replete with corporate strategy and family legacy. You see, the stage was initially set in 2001, prior to Jean-Louis' death, when LVMH, led by the Machiavellian Bernard Arnault, discreetly acquired a 4.9% stake in Hermes. This move, subtle yet strategic, marked the commencement of a high-stakes game in the luxury sector. Fast forward to 2010, and Patrick Thomas, the first non-family CEO, had to grapple with LVMH having stealthily grown that almost 5% stake into 15%. Indeed, this accumulation was not just about numbers, it was about influence and potential control. In response, Hermes, understanding the gravity of the situation, fortified its defenses in December 2010. A private holding company owning 50.2% of Hermes shares emerged as a bastion against LVMH's advances, and amid this corporate tussle, legal battles ensued. Hermes, in a bold move, filed a criminal complaint against LVMH, accusing it of insider trading and manipulation. Certainly this wasn't just a legal maneuver. It was a statement of the family's resistance against a perceived financial invasion of the Hermes dynasty's legacy. 2014 saw the denouement of this high fashion drama, with LVMH, in a surprising yet strategic retreat, agreed to distribute its by then 23.2% stake in Hermes to its shareholders, finally gracing the brand with an acknowledgement of the resilience of a family-controlled luxury empire. Enter Axel Dumas, born into the Hermes Dumas lineage, a custodian of a rich heritage. Joining Hermes in 2003, Dumas navigated through various roles, from auditor to retail director, before ascending to the throne of CEO in 2014. And his ascent wasn't just a career progression, it was a continuation of a familial saga. Under Dumas' stewardship, Hermes thrived, with sales skyrocketing and share price soaring, a testament to his commitment to heritage and independence. Therefore, Dumas' leadership was more than a managerial success. It was a celebration of the unique identity of Hermes. And thus we begin where we started, with one of the more than 100 heirs to the Hermes dynasty, perhaps sending off billions to his gardener, of all people. However, no matter what Nicolas Puech decides to do, after hearing this wild family chronicle, it's clear that the Hermes will survive and continue on undeterred. In the world of old money, that is, wealth passed down through multiple generations in a family, there can be a lot of superlatives attached to this enigmatic sect of human society. Old money families are the most powerful, the most discreet, the hardest to get into. And yet, even for members of the old money class around the world, there is one family that seemingly towers above them all. The ones that make the powerful look powerless, the ones who make billionaires look like baby boys, and the ones that live more like kings than actual kings. Indeed, one name in modern history reigns above all when we think of old money, and that is, quite naturally, the name of Rothschild. Now, sure, you've seen a ton of videos and documentaries about this family. You've been told the financial details, you've learned about the political power plays, and of course you've heard the theories about their global networks. But have you ever heard the full story, from the very first member of the family up until today, in a neutral, unbiased format? Have you ever been told about the step-by-step growth of this one-of-a-kind dynasty without any agenda on either side, leaving the interpretation of their influence up for you to decide on your own? In today's episode, we'll allow you to do just that, telling the good, the bad, and the luxury of the entire saga as we describe how the Rothschilds went from new money to old money. In the raw heart of Frankfurt's Jewish ghetto emerged an unlikely hero on the 23rd of February, 1744. Named Meyer Amschel Rothschild, his birthplace was one of Germany's earliest and most restrictive ghettos, existing in the teeming underbelly of the Holy Roman Empire from 1462 until 1811. Judengasse, or Jews' Lane, was a labyrinth of squalor, a congested and unhygienic curve of cobblestones, stretching a mere 10 to 12 feet across. Sprawling from the Bornheimer Gate in the north to the Jewish cemetery in the south, the district would lock its 3,000 inhabitants within its unyielding clasp daily. Sundays, Christian holidays, and the cloak of night transformed this ghetto into an inescapable fortress, its occupants forbidden from entering public gardens or attending coffee shops. You see, this was a world without freedoms. Ownership of land, affiliation with guilds, and certain professions were forbidden fruits to this community. You see, the sheer density of life in Judengasse was beyond comprehension. Several families huddled together in single apartments, a concentration of humanity that the rest of Frankfurt could scarcely fathom. Amidst this harsh reality, Meyer Amschel was born to Amschel Moses Rothschild and his wife, Schonsche Rothschild. His father, a money changer and silk trader, counted Prince William of Hesse among his clientele. Despite this royal connection, Amschel Moses was far from wealthy, and the family lived in crowded conditions, sharing their dwelling with an extended family of up to 30 members. But the hand of fate can be both cruel and kind. When Meyer Amschel lost both his parents to an epidemic in 1755 and 1756, he found himself under the mentorship of Wolf Jacob Oppenheim in Hanover. This fortuitous turn of events initiated Meyer Amschel into the intricate web of business and the exclusive world of court agents. Adept in dealing with rare coins and medals, Rothschild returned to Frankfurt in 1764. His reputation preceded him, and his clientele swiftly expanded. His rise to prominence was then accelerated by a lucrative deal with the hereditary prince of Hesse-Kassel. His marriage in 1770 to the daughter of a court agent was another feather in his cap, bringing with it a hefty dowry and a network of influential connections. He was fast becoming Frankfurt's eminent dealer in coins, medals, and antiques. Despite being victim to a substantial embezzlement by an unprincipled employee, his fortune was so significant that he still reigned supreme as one of the era's most prominent bankers. Thus, Meyer Amschel Rothschild, a child of the ghetto, ascended to become a legend, unperturbed by the prejudices and limitations that marked his humble beginnings. As the mantle passed from Meyer Amschel to Nathan Rothschild following the former's demise, the family empire not merely endured, but flourished, speaking to the father's ingenuity and the son's tenacity. As mentioned, Meyer Amschel's association with William IX, the hereditary prince of Hesse-Kassel, forms the first core part of the controversies surrounding the Rothschilds' power structure. The story goes that when Napoleon ousted William from power in the 1790s, he entrusted his vast fortune to Meyer Amschel for safeguarding, resulting in Rothschild's own poverty while preserving the prince's riches. This tale, although reportedly fictional, does harbour an element of truth. Meyer Amschel's real duty to William wasn't guarding gold, but overseeing his English investments. Appointed as Hofactor by William IX in 1769, Meyer Amschel supervised the prince's estate and tax collection. This fruitful alliance, coupled with the prince's opulence, formed the cornerstone of the Rothschild dynasty, eventually gaining a commanding presence in European finance and banking. Thus, this association with William IX propelled Meyer Amschel's third son, Nathan Rothschild, onto the path of success. Born on September 16, 1777, in the confines of Frankfurt, Nathan Rothschild's childhood spent within the Frankfurt ghetto also left an indelible mark. Under his father's tutelage, the young Nathan learned the family trade, banking, and absorbed the sense of unity pervading the Jewish community of Frankfurt. Commissioned to England in his 20s by his father, Nathan rapidly ascended to prominence, overseeing William IX's English investments and, in time, establishing himself as a banking titan in London. Now, a pivotal event took place in 1806 when Nathan tied the knot with Hannah Barrett Cohen. This strategic intermarriage afforded him an elevated social standing and a network of influential business contacts. Hannah, hailing from a prosperous family of linen traders, was born in 1783. Her father, Levi Barrett Cohen, had migrated to London from Amsterdam in 1770, achieving some repute as a merchant. In fact, the House of Cohen had prior business transactions with Nathan's father, the aforementioned Meyer Amschel. Specifically, upon Nathan's arrival in London in 1798, he was recommended to the Cohen family for an informal apprenticeship. Now their marriage indeed helped Nathan gain social stature and business connections. Hannah exceeded the traditional expectations of a Rothschild wife, participating actively in business and advisory roles. Her financial prowess was acknowledged, and she was deemed a formidable business partner. Thus, her marriage to Nathan not only opened a treasure trove of valuable connections, but also helped to catalyze the growth and triumph of the Rothschild banking dynasty. Now, by 1810, the family enterprise had evolved into Meyer Amschel Rothschild and Sons. Nearing the twilight of his life, Meyer Amschel would issue a groundbreaking decree from his deathbed. The family business was to be the exclusive property of his 5 sons, a dictate that was stringently followed by his successors. Now, in the clandestine cobwebs of Europe's politico-economic circles, the Rothschild dynasty were no strangers. Like silent puppet masters, they manipulated the game of power with panache, their financial roots entangling the continent's elite. Men of power danced, their strings delicately controlled by these generous patrons, either through promising investment gambits or hush-hush exchanges of illicit wealth. Ominously, the elder Rothschild, Amschel, was once caught musing, "As Jews, our fate is to buy our way through or watch the Gentiles take the lead." These subtle maneuvers, while drawing criticism, nonetheless amplified the family's reach, fortifying their success. Prominent among their web of debtors was the exiled King Louis XVIII. The maestro of their financial orchestra at the time, Nathan Rothschild, brokered a loan of £200,000 for the British Crown, facilitating the monarch's grand return to France in 1814. Yet, like any true political chess master, their benevolence came with a ticking time bomb. Nathan demanded a prompt repayment, with a handsome interest, 3 years later. Thus, the Rothschilds weaved a network of loans and investments, their tendrils reaching out to key political players like Wilhelm von Humboldt in the 1820s, promising them long-term gains. Now their most invaluable asset was the perpetually penniless Austrian statesman Clemens von Metternich, a regular recipient of the Rothschilds' fiscal generosity. In return for their assistance, Metternich provided them with vital political intelligence and business opportunities, whilst also championing their cause for Jewish emancipation in Frankfurt. The extraordinary loan of 900,000 gulden, extended to Metternich after his staunch support of the Frankfurt Jewish community, however, raised a few skeptical eyebrows. This alliance bore fruit in the form of a regular exchange of classified information between Metternich and Salomon Rothschild. But the partnership was not without its critics. The unfortunate, self-inflicted end of David Parish and the collapse of his enterprise, Fries and Company, were blamed on the Rothschilds' burgeoning influence and their newfound alliance with Metternich. These intriguing affairs cast a shadow over the Rothschild name, painting them as puppet masters of corruption, a dark reputation nurtured by business rivalry and leveraging the anti-Semitic sentiment of the time. Additionally, in the world of art patronage, the Rothschilds wielded an equally formidable influence. Over the years, they amassed a treasure trove of artistic gems, their collection becoming a symbol of their prestige. For example, a fondness for the 17th century Dutch masters was a family trait. James Rothschild in 1840 secured Rembrandt's renowned The Standard Bearer, placing this jewel in the crown of their collection at the Grand Salon of Rue Lafitte. However, contrary to popular belief, their interest was not simply confined to the classics. In their world, art was more than an investment. It was a symbol of their wealth, yes, but also a way of life. It gave life to their stately mansions and bespoke of their refined taste. Music, too, was integral to their repertoire. For instance, Nathan Rothschild, in January 1828, engaged the services of the acclaimed Ignaz Moscheles, Felix Mendelssohn's mentor. Their salons regularly echoed with the sublime melodies of masters like Mendelssohn, Liszt, Hall, and Joachim. The Parisian chapter of Polish legend Frédéric Chopin's storied career even began under the patronage of none other than James Rothschild. In fact, such was the depth of their involvement in the world of music that even legendary anti-Semite Richard Wagner, it was rumored, banked with the Rothschilds. Despite converting their fortune into far-reaching influence, the Rothschilds remained true to their Jewish faith. Karl Rothschild was said to have clearly asserted that their wealth was a Jewish legacy. They championed the cause of Jewish advancement, in stark contrast to the prevalent misconception that they were indifferent to the hardships faced by their fellow Jews. In truth, they contributed generously to Jewish charities and schools. Their rise to prominence did not obscure their humble origins or the suffering of their brethren. They fought for their community's equal rights, formed strategic alliances, and enhanced their standing as a remarkable family, far surpassing their material success. Now espionage, a nemesis lurking in every shadow, posed an escalating threat, especially when their dispatches were laced with elements of political subterfuge or potentially lucrative information. Thus, 1814 marked a significant shift towards the employment of private couriers, a move calculated to outmaneuver this constant menace. This past era before instantaneous electronic communication was dominated by the indispensable private courier, and in the Rothschilds' grand scheme of affairs, they formed the essential backbone of their vast international communication grid. They were the trusted guardians of priceless information, the lifeblood that breathed power into the sprawling body of the Rothschilds' financial empire. Thus, the couriers were more than just bearers of messages. They were crucial defenders against breaches of information. You see, in a world where a whiff of news could alter the course of markets and fortunes, their private network rendered the velocity of communication as vital as the information itself. As adaptable as they were essential, couriers had the flexibility to hasten their delivery based on the family's exigencies. Moreover, these couriers were a symbol of the global extent of the Rothschilds. In an age fragmented by national demarcations, linguistic obstacles, and complex geopolitics, the family's private couriers formed a seamless, efficient network that spanned the breadth of Europe. By the winter of 1827, Solomon Rothschild, Nathan's brother, had found this system deeply rooted in their operations in Vienna. It was a system so exquisitely refined that it elicited the envy of their competitors, triggering a slew of imitations. Nevertheless, for a good part of the early 19th century, the Rothschilds' courier service remained unrivaled in delivering premier service to diplomats and statesmen. This intricate communications network is the second core pillar of discussions involving a clandestine society revolving around the Rothschilds. The audacity of their influence, the lightning speed of their operations, and the depth of their couriers' reach fuels historical investigations of a more covert, more nefarious global network. Indeed, the family harnessed their mighty infrastructure for their advantage. However, the extent to which it qualifies as a larger global plan is at your discretion, viewers. Additionally, while this out-of-family network undeniably paved their path to eminence, the true brilliance lay in the synergy among the 5 Rothschild houses in London, Frankfurt, Paris, Vienna, and Naples. This multinational matrix, the world's largest banking structure, was the conduit for their financial influence throughout the European economic epicenters. However, the empire, admittedly built on secret family dealings, private communications, and a vast global network, was left reeling after the sudden death of Nathan Rothschild. Nathan's influential hand had harmoniously orchestrated the operations of the five houses. "We owe him everything, really everything," his brother Karl had once admitted. His sudden departure in 1836 jolted the family, and with the markets already on a downward spiral, it only seemed to hasten the looming financial crisis. As the calendar pages of the 1830s were torn away, the illustrious Rothschilds shifted their formidable might towards the pulsating arena of industrial finance. With a calculated gamble, they invested a lion's share of their resources into the construction of railways, effectively grasping the helm as they navigated the birth of France's railway system. Yet their commanding role was seen through the dark spectacles of suspicion by a burgeoning faction of the media, resulting in an alarming rise in negative sentiment towards the distinguished family. The year 1846, a harbinger of ill fortune, saw the Rothschilds' reputation gravely marred. A train, under their aegis, hurtled off the tracks and screeched to a disastrous end, claiming 14 innocent lives in its ruinous aftermath. This catastrophic event served as a catalyst, positioning the Rothschilds at the center of the intensifying social revolution of 1848. Public sentiment, balancing on a razor's edge between civil rights and an ever-widening chasm of wealth inequality, began to broil with antipathy towards them. The family's impregnable fortress in Frankfurt came under assault. Windows splintered under the wrath of angry stones, the sacrosanctity of their haven violated. More misfortune pursued the Rothschilds as the plunging value of government securities, which formed the bedrock of their investments, threatened to tip them over the edge of financial abyss. The fickle finger of fate extended a lifeline to the London household, sheltering it from the revolutionary tempest. This fortuitous turn of events enabled the London Rothschilds to extend a crucial lifeline to their kin, preserving their legacy from total obliteration. In the decades that unfurled between 1850 and 1914, the Rothschilds grew their influence like tendrils reaching across banking, politics, and a myriad of significant events. Quite notably, in this time, they became titanic movers in the world's political machine. A key instance of this influence is Lionel de Rothschild's role in financing the construction of the Suez Canal. You see, initially the Suez Canal Company found it challenging to sell shares internationally. Countries including Britain, the United States, Austria, and Russia didn't buy any shares, whereas all French shares were rapidly sold in France. Opening for shipping on November 17, 1869, the Suez Canal significantly influenced global trade and contributed to an increase in the European colonization of Africa. Ismail Pasha, Said Pasha's successor, was compelled to sell Egypt's shares due to mounting external debts. To facilitate this, in 1875, the London banking house of N.M. Rothschild and Sons lent £4 million to the British Prime Minister, Benjamin Disraeli, acting for the British government. This facilitated the purchase of the Suez Canal shares. Now, the Rothschild family's role in the Suez Canal project is just a snapshot of their vast influence in international finance and politics. The Rothschilds additionally played a crucial role in the emancipation of Brazil from Portugal. The agreement stipulated that the nascent Brazilian government must remit £2 million sterling to Portugal as a cost of freedom. The monumental task of marshalling this sum fell to the finance titans, N.M. Rothschild and Sons. Commandeering the London market with their deft strategies, they successfully amassed the required capital for the newly anointed Empire of Brazil. Furthermore, the family's reach extended even into Africa, bankrolling Cecil Rhodes in the establishment of Rhodesia. Additionally, when the Russo-Japanese War cast its shadow, the Japanese government turned to the London and Paris branches of the Rothschilds. Their consortium responded by issuing Japanese war bonds worth an astonishing £11.5 million. Thus, in this era, the name Rothschild resonated with echoes of extraordinary political power, financial might, and opulent decadence. In fact, their empire, encompassing at least 41 palaces of unparalleled luxury, led the British Chancellor of the Exchequer, David Lloyd George, to assert that Nathan, Lord Rothschild, was the most powerful man in Britain by 1909. Now, as the opening decades of the 20th century opened, they brought a seismic shift to the Rothschild dynasty, their erstwhile harmony fractured by the emergence of national taxation. The unified ledger of commerce they once proudly held fractured, causing their various arms to diverge, establishing themselves as autonomous banking entities. The once illustrious quintet of brothers and their offspring had by the time of the First Great War become a memory rather than a reality. It was the ominous rise of the Third Reich during the 1930s, however, that truly rattled the Rothschild fortress. The Austrian wing found itself teetering on a precipice with the annexation of Austria in 1938, with the family coerced into selling their banking operation for mere pence on the pound. The Rothschilds found themselves a hunted clan, with the exception of Louis Rothschild, who, caught in the National Socialists' snare, only secured his freedom after a considerable family-funded ransom. When Louis was finally granted exit in March 1939, the Third Reich set its sights on SM von Rothschild, placing it under ruthless administration, their estates plundered by high-ranking Austrian museum officials. The spoils of war left the Austrian Rothschilds with little more than remnants of their once formidable assets. The Second World War's ruthless march claimed France next, the French Rothschilds cast into a storm of uncertainty as their assets were seized in the iron grip of German occupation. Despite their bank being restored in the war's aftermath, the oncoming tide of socialism under President François Mitterrand in 1982 posed a further challenge of insurmountable proportions. The mighty Rothschild behemoth found itself subsumed yet again, this time in the churning waters of nationalization. And then came their monumental lapse, America. The New York Times astutely highlighted the Rothschilds' failure to seize the bountiful opportunity that lay across the Atlantic. Evelyn de Rothschild, with a sense of heavy regret, conceded that in spite of their illustrious lineage in international finance, we never grappled with the American challenge, and that remains one of our family's most glaring missteps. He further lamented that even though the Rothschilds had established a foothold in the US through various investments and alliances, they had never truly broken ground as they had in Europe. This lack of penetration into the American financial landscape marked a profound strategic shortcoming for a family that had so often defined the contours of global finance. Today, the heralded progeny of the Rothschild lineage, a name still entwined in wealth and power, is first embodied by the baronial figure of Jacob Rothschild, the fourth Baron Rothschild, British peer and an ace in the arena of investment banking. His resplendent persona radiates in the sphere of the Rothschild banking dynasty that still stretches across continents and centuries. RIT Capital Partners, a titan of financial trust under his chairmanship, stands tall on the London Stock Exchange with an estimable net asset value in the vicinity of £2 billion. The scales of wealth also still tip in his favour, placing his net worth at an extraordinary $5 billion. On the ladies' side, the noteworthy player in the family is Lady Lynn Forrester de Rothschild, an American-British billionaire entrepreneur with a net worth surpassing the $674 million mark. She rules as the CEO of E.L. Rothschild LLC. The boards of the Estée Lauder Companies and the Economist Newspaper Limited are additionally graced by her presence, as are the International Advisory Council of Asia House, the Council on Foreign Relations in the United States, and Chatham House in the UK. Next, we have James Rothschild, a man whose marital bond with Nicky Hilton extends the influence of the illustrious Rothschild name into the world of fashion and power couples. Born in our lovely capital London in 1985, James boasts an impressive pedigree as the sole son of the late Amschel Rothschild and Anita Patience Guinness. James's journey in finance began with a tenure at the family's N.M. Rothschild & Sons Limited as an investment banker, but currently James commands the title of founder and managing partner at True Arrow Partners, a firm with a global footprint in the technological growth sector. His net worth stands today at roughly $1.3 billion. The family has also helmed a group of banks managed by Rothschild Continuation Holdings since 2003. With a complex structure of control involving multiple holding companies and the guiding hand of Baron David René de Rothschild, these banks remain a symbol of the Rothschilds' still pervasive influence across Europe. Thus, from the humble origins of Meyer Amschel Rothschild in the heart of Frankfurt's Jewish ghetto, to the myriad tendrils of influence spread by his descendants across continents and centuries, the Rothschild legacy, like a grand symphony, resonates through the ages. Their lineage, sewn into the very fabric of modern history, embodies the most legendary saga of a family with new money, indeed maturing into old money. Picture yourself as a member of the Grimaldis family, the ruling dynasty of Monaco, and a lineage entwined with the history and prestige of that iconic jewel of the Mediterranean. With centuries-old ties to royalty and an unparalleled legacy, the decisions you make and the wealth you wield are subjects of global fascination. Would you dedicate yourself to philanthropy, supporting arts and sciences, or perhaps focus on luxury, hosting grand balls and renovating splendid palaces? Yet, if you bear the Grimaldi name, your stewardship of wealth transcends these choices, embodying the essence of sovereignty and glamour. Indeed, the Grimaldi family doesn't just enjoy their fortune, they curate an entire principality, blending tradition with the allure of high-stakes gambling, Formula One racing, and a haven for the world's elite. In today's episodes, we venture into the heart of the Grimaldi dynasty, uncovering how they've sculpted Monaco into a symbol of opulence and prestige. So join us as we describe a narrative that stretches beyond mere wealth, touching on the art of ruling a modern-day monarchy while captivating the imagination of the world. As we sail into 2024, the Grimaldi family, the VIPs of Monaco, are sitting pretty on a mountain of cash, with Prince Albert II alone being worth a cool $1 billion US. But this isn't just royal pocket change. It's the fruit of shrewd investing and prime real estate hustling in one of the globe's most eye-wateringly pricey markets. And this princely sum is tightly woven into Monaco's economy. Thanks to the state's revenues, primo real estate, and a knack for investment, Monaco's status as a tax haven is like a magnet for the mega-rich, inflating the royal coffers even more. Furthermore, Prince Albert II, in a move that would make monopoly players green with envy, owns a whopping quarter of Monaco's land. This portfolio is a mix of historic gems, luxury pads, and high-end shops, all commanding sky-high prices because, let's face it, Monaco's square footage is the stuff of legend. And the pièce de résistance of the Grimaldi property empire is the Prince's Palace of Monaco. This isn't just any old house, it's a 12th century fortress turned luxury digs, smack dab in the heart of Monacoville. The Grimaldis also have a stake in the future of fancy living with the eco-district Maritera, pushing the boundaries of luxury and likely padding their property portfolio. Of course, Prince Albert II and Princess Charlene live it up in style, their lives a blend of royal duties and A-list soirees. Princess Charlene, who swapped Olympic pools for royal balls, is often spotted at glitzy events, embodying grace and glam. But Princess Charlene isn't just about royal waves, she's also a philanthropy powerhouse. From her swimming days, she's carried over a passion for sports and well-being into charity work, focusing on water safety and sports for kids through her foundation. Thus, it's clear her heart is as big as her royal title. Even the kids, Prince Jacques and Princess Gabriella, are in on the royal action. They're not just learning to receive bows and curtsies, they're participating in traditions and public appearances, embodying the blend of duty and family that Prince Albert and Princess Charlene cherish. From Christmas parties to national days, these twins are already pros at the royal game, all under the watchful eye of their parents, ensuring a balance between their heritage and a grounded family life. And the family's affinity for the high seas shines through an enviable fleet of yachts. These floating testimonials to their lofty status and maritime passion sail with the Monaco skyline often serving as a backdrop, and their yachts, like the Pacha III, are more than just watercraft. They're a nod to the Grimaldi maritime legacy, especially at glittering events like the Monaco Yacht Show. But it's not all about navigating the blue. The Grimaldis also navigate the realms of art with ease. In 2024, they teamed up with the Tate for Thurn, the Sublime Legacy, at the Grimaldi Forum Monaco, showcasing their commitment to cultural enrichment and art appreciation. This exhibition, one among many, cements their role as patrons of the arts, enhancing Monaco's cultural vibe. Yet, their influence isn't confined to the arts and yachting. It spans the very governance of Monaco, where they reign supreme, blending traditional monarchy with savvy business ventures in real estate and yachting, further solidifying their grip on Monaco's social and economic reins. However, at this point, you're probably wondering how this fearless foursome managed to take the reins of a small principality that has become synonymous with luxury. To get our answer, let's turn back the clocks to the 13th century and begin our journey. On a fateful night in January 1297, under a cloak of darkness, François Grimaldi, a figure known as much for his shrewdness as his moniker Malizia, or the Malicious, orchestrated a caper that would forever alter the landscape of Mediterranean power dynamics. In an era marked by the incessant tug-of-war between the Guelphs and Ghibellines, two factions representing the polar ends of medieval Europe's ideological spectrum, François, a scion of the Guelphic Genoese nobility and a fervent papal ally, found himself at the epicenter of this clash. And the plot thickened when François, donning the humble garb of a Franciscan monk, managed to charm his way into Monaco's fortress. The guise was impeccable and the gatekeepers were unsuspecting. Once within the stronghold's walls, the ruse unraveled, revealing not a man of cloth, but a warrior at heart. With his cousin Rainier I and a band of loyalists by his side, François seized control of the fortress, a move that not only demonstrated cunning but also immortalized the Grimaldis in the annals of Monaco's history, symbolized profoundly by the two sword-bearing monks on the Monegasque coat of arms. The Rock of Monaco, known for its strategic vantage over the azure Mediterranean, thus became the cornerstone of the Grimaldi dynasty's rise to power. The acquisition was more than a mere conquest. It was a masterstroke in securing a pivotal maritime and military stronghold. Therefore, this act set the stage for the Grimaldis' future endeavors in territorial expansion, including the annexation of Menton and Roquebrune, which further solidified their dominion. Yet, the true essence of the Grimaldi legacy lies not solely in martial exploits, but in their astute engagement with maritime commerce and alliances. The early 14th century saw the Grimaldis venture into the choppy waters of naval warfare and trade, with Monegasque vessels raiding Southampton under Carlo Grimaldi's command, a testament to their burgeoning maritime prowess. The centuries that followed were a ballet of diplomatic maneuvers and strategic marriages, with the Grimaldis weaving their lineage into the fabric of European nobility. These alliances were instrumental in expanding the Grimaldi influence, bringing wealth and titles into their fold and cementing their status as a sovereign power. And in the 18th century, the Grimaldi family's knack for strategic alliances shone brightly, notably through their presence at the French court and their title as Dukes of Valentinois, a status they held until 1715. This period was marked by marriages and alliances that not only cemented their high status, but also diplomatically expanded their territories. Then, the 19th century continued this trend of strategic growth, with the Grimaldis enhancing their noble status through the acquisition of lands and titles. Their strategic acquisitions, like Menton and Roquebrune, not only extended their dominion, but also served as crucial buffers against larger powers. Through adept navigation of the European political landscape, securing alliances with formidable nations such as France and Spain, the Grimaldis fortified Monaco's sovereignty, setting the stage for its transformation into a flourishing and esteemed principality. In a move that would forever alter the social and economic landscape of Monaco, the doors of the Monte Carlo casino swung open on the 1st of April 1856. But this was no April's Fool's joke, igniting a spark that would transform the tiny principality into a beacon of luxury and exclusivity for Europe's aristocracy and moneyed elite. Conceived by Princess Caroline as a financial lifeline for the Grimaldi family, reeling from the economic blow dealt by the secession of Menton and Roquebrune, the establishment of the casino was less of a gamble and more of a masterstroke in economic strategy. The casino first welcomed patrons in a modest setting at Villa Bellevue, serving as a preliminary step towards a grander vision aimed at resurrecting Monaco's fortunes through the allure of high-stakes gambling and the promise of opulent tourism. Then, the move to Les Spelugues and the opening of the Hôtel de Paris in 1863 laid the cornerstones of what would become one of the world's most illustrious vacation spots. Managed by the Société des Bains de Mer, under the watchful eye of the Monaco government and the Grimaldi family, the Monte Carlo casino became the linchpin in the Principality's economic revival. And the casino quickly ascended to the pinnacle of high society's itinerary, becoming synonymous with wealth, luxury, and a dash of scandal, given its policy of barring locals from participating in gambling activities. Later on, its iconic status was cemented by frequent mentions in pop culture, notably in the suave escapades of James Bond. And despite the diversification of Monaco's economy in subsequent years, with the casino's direct contributions dwindling to a more modest slice of the fiscal pie, the historical and cultural imprint of the establishment is monumental. Subsequently, the construction of the railway link to France in 1868 marked another pivotal chapter in Monaco's ascent to stardom. This infrastructural marvel dramatically eased access to the Principality, inviting an influx of visitors seduced by the allure of the casino and Monaco's burgeoning status as a sanctuary of splendor. And the turn of the century saw Monaco embrace a wave of legal modernization under Prince Albert I, who in 1911 introduced reforms that would further solidify the Principality's standing on the global stage. While the constitution he promulgated fell short of democratizing governance outright, it represented a significant leap towards establishing a more formal and forward-looking legal framework, enhancing Monaco's appeal as a home for the affluent and the adventurous. This strategic transformation, coupled with the railway's facilitation of increased tourism and commerce, was crucial in propelling Monaco into its status as a global magnet for the elite, laying the groundwork for the Principality's flourishing future. However, it would be through his son, Prince Rainier III, where the Grimaldi family itself would become synonymous with a certain Hollywood glamour, after the events described in the next chapter. Following the end of World War II, Monaco embarked on an ambitious endeavour to broaden its economic horizons beyond the glittering allure of its renowned Monte Carlo casino. This initiative aimed to cement the Principality's status as both a financial and cultural epicenter, ensuring a robust and diversified economic landscape for the future. In a post-1945 world, Monaco strategically capitalized on its luxurious image and prime Mediterranean locale to draw in international businesses and the globe-trotting elite. A cornerstone of this appeal was the Principality's no-income tax policy for residents, alongside a conducive business climate, making it a magnet for finance-related activities. Thus, the banking sector flourished under these conditions, positioning Monaco as a preferred destination for private banking and wealth management, thereby reducing the economy's previous over-reliance on gambling revenues. Cultural diversification was another critical element of Monaco's transformation. The debut of the Monte Carlo International Film Festival in 1955 became an icon of the Principality's ambitions of becoming a cultural powerhouse. And the festival transcended its role as a mere celebration of film to become a platform for Monaco to dazzle on the global stage, attracting a constellation of stars, filmmakers, and tourists. Such cultural and sporting spectacles have burnished Monaco's image as a bastion of luxury and leisure, broadening its economic base beyond the casino floors. And the fruits of Monaco's economic diversification are unmistakable. The Principality has reinvented itself as a beacon of finance and culture, drawing businesses and affluent individuals from across the world. This strategic pivot has yielded a more resilient and stable economy, less prone to the vicissitudes of the gambling sector. The finance industry, in particular, has emerged as a vital component of Monaco's GDP, while its array of cultural festivities has significantly enhanced tourist inflow and international acclaim. Instrumental in this sweeping economic renewal were key figures such as Prince Rainier III, who assumed the throne in 1949 and steered Monaco through a period of significant modernization and diversification. His foresight and policies laid the groundwork for the thriving economic and cultural hub that Monaco represents today. And in a twist of fate that seemed more akin to a Hollywood screenplay than the daily entries of a royal ledger, the union between Prince Rainier, the Third of Monaco, and Hollywood's own Grace Kelly in April 1956 unfurled a red carpet across the Riviera, weaving together the sheen of American cinema with the storied elegance of European royalty. This matrimonial spectacle didn't just link two distinguished worlds, it catapulted the petite Principality of Monaco into the limelight, transforming it into a beacon of fairy tale romance and opulent luxury, much to the delight of a global audience. You see, Grace Kelly, a paragon of grace and cinematic allure from the United States, caught the eye of Prince Rainier III amidst the glitz of the Cannes Film Festival in 1955. Their ensuing love story, swift and sweeping, culminated in a grand celebration that earned the moniker Wedding of the Century. And the festivities, elegantly partitioned into a civil ceremony on April 18th and a religious ceremony the following day, saw the palace throne room and the St. Nicholas Cathedral playing host to this momentous exchange of vows. The bride's gown, a masterpiece crafted by Helen Rose, stood as a beacon of bridal sophistication, inspiring countless imitations in the decades that followed. With some 1,600 journalists and photographers descending on Monaco, the event didn't just captivate millions worldwide, it underscored the princely enclave's newfound place on the world stage. Fast forward to 1979, and Monaco's ambitions soared with the expansion of Port Hercules, a strategic maneuver aimed at bolstering its luxury tourism sector. This enhancement allowed the harbour to accommodate larger yachts, a nod to Monaco's standing as a premier destination for the affluent and a testament to its maritime allure. The project not only facilitated an uptick in the number of yachts gracing its waters, but also amplified Monaco's charm as a nautical retreat, contributing significantly to the prosperity of its luxury tourism and service industries. However, even after an amazing run in the 20th century, the Grimaldi family would soon face controversy in the 21st that they'd have to face head-on. Ascending the throne in 2005, Albert's tenure has been anything but dull, blending the allure of monarchy with the spice of scandal. You see, Albert's personal life has often stolen the limelight, beginning with a bombshell in 2005, just months into his reign. The prince found himself in the glare of tabloids worldwide with the revelation of a son, Alexandre Grimaldi Coste, born to Nicole Coste, a Togo-born flight attendant. Alba's acknowledgement of his paternity, albeit with a clear stance that Alexandre would not be in line for the throne, added layers to the public's fascination with Monaco's ruling family. Alexandre, for his part, has weathered the storm with aplomb, dismissing the scandals as mere footnotes in his life. But it's not just personal peccadillos that have cast shadows over the princely palace. Accusations of corruption within Monaco's gilt-edged walls have stirred up their share of trouble, with a whistleblowing website and police raids bringing the kind of attention no royal court would welcome. These episodes, hinting at a circle of influence marred by misconduct, have certainly done no favours to Monaco's image or the Grimaldi legacy. And while Monaco's status as a sun-drenched playground for the wealthy is well documented, its financial policies have also drawn scrutiny. Dubbed a tax haven by critics, the Principality has been under the microscope for its opaque tax practices. In response, Prince Albert II has embarked on a mission to polish Monaco's financial image, introducing reforms to enhance tax transparency and align with international standards. Amidst this, Princess Charlene's health struggles have added a human dimension to the royal narrative, sparking a wellspring of sympathy. Her prolonged absence, fraught with speculation, eventually gave way to a story of resilience and recovery, culminating in her return to public life and duties. This chapter, marked by genuine concern and a collective sigh of relief, underscores the enduring bond between Monaco's royals and their subjects, a relationship that, despite its ups and downs, remains steadfast. These days, Monaco's royal twins, Prince Jacques and Princess Gabriella, stand at the cusp of an exciting future, embodying the promise of a new chapter for the Principality. From their early days, marked by global fascination and regal ceremonies, to their current steps towards their destined roles, every detail of their journey garners attention. Their baptism in 2015 at Monaco's St. Nicholas Cathedral was not just a spiritual milestone, but also an occasion for Jacques to receive the Grand Cross of the Order of Grimaldi and Gabriella, the Grand Officer of the same order. And their educational journey, blending traditional schooling with a unique adaptation during the pandemic, underscores the blend of royal tradition and modern pragmatism. Learning the alphabet in both English and French by 18 months, attending a Montessori-inspired school, and then transitioning to homeschooling during their mother's recovery period, highlight a structured yet flexible approach to their upbringing. Furthermore, public appearances have become a part of their routine, offering glimpses into their integration into Monaco's ceremonial and cultural life, from National Day festivities to the circus parade. Beyond the ceremonial, the twins' engagement in activities like swimming, taekwondo, and hip-hop dance reflects their parents' emphasis on a balanced and active childhood. Their distinct personalities, with Jacques' contemplative nature and Gabriella's outgoing charm, complement their collective role in Monaco's royal narrative. As they grow, their development and evolving roles continue to captivate those watching, both near and far, heralding a dynamic future for Monaco's monarchy. Imagine for a moment you are a tourist in London, the seemingly endless metropolis resonant with a vivacious pulse and twinkling city lights, where ancient stone streets whisper tales of yesteryear and modern skyscrapers soar into the vast cerulean skyline. Indeed, on your journey to our sumptuous capital, you'll likely find yourself strolling by iconic landmarks, such as the stately Buckingham Palace, the majestic Tower of London, or the illuminated London Eye, all images that immortalize the city's indomitable spirit. Yet, as you wander these serpentine streets, there's a high likelihood that you're stepping on property owned by a quintessentially British family, an embodiment of the old money stature. They're the unseen marionettists pulling the strings of London's property scene, their sprawling holdings defining the essence of the city. For instance, this covert dynasty owns an astonishing 50% of the prestigious district of Mayfair, including the freeholds of the American Embassy, the Beaumont Hotel, and the Gagosian Gallery. Moreover, their sway extends over 300 acres of the wildly opulent Belgravia area, renowned for its extravagant properties. But the vast stretches of their power and influence within Albion don't just stop there. These old money English nobles have held significant sway in British society for, believe it or not, almost 1,000 years. In today's video at Old Money Luxury, we'll unveil the captivating narrative of the Grosvenors, an English family whose grasp on London's real estate is as profound as their millennia-old impact on British society. The Grosvenor family's will to power shockingly stretches back to the very beginnings of what we know as modern Britain, with their fierce ancestor Hugh Lupus being renowned as the chief huntsman to none other than William the Conqueror. His ceaseless wolf-like tenacity in shielding Cheshire from the Welsh invaders won him the coveted lands in the highly consequential year of 1066. Known endearingly as Fat Hugh, his merry crest showcased a laughing dog, an emblem which would soon yield another immense tie in Grosvenor family lore to British history, as this ancestor's crest became the muse for Lewis Carroll's unforgettable Cheshire Cat in Alice in Wonderland. Now the family's rise to power within the nobility began with the stalwart Sir Richard Grosvenor, the first baronet, who made his grand entrance into the world on a crisp, frost-bitten January morning in 1585. After an Oxford education and position as the High Sheriff of Cheshire, Sir Richard leveraged his growing power to become knighted by King James I on a bright summer day in 1617 amidst the verdant, tranquil Vale Royal. To put this into perspective, this ancestor of the Grosvenor Empire was being knighted at the same time Shakespeare was alive and the King James Bible emerged. Now, Sir Richard further won the affections and votes of the public as a charismatic Member of Parliament for Cheshire in 1621 and acquired the prestigious baronet's title a year later. In fact, his eloquently penned diary entries from the time are still read in the 21st century as invaluable nuggets of historical wisdom. The Grosvenor family legacy was furthered by the intrepid Sir Richard Grosvenor, the second baronet, a staunch royalist during the turbulent Civil War. As the High Sheriff of Cheshire in 1643, the same position his father held, he ousted Parliament supporters from the chaotic Battle of Edgehill, standing firmly by his beliefs. He later joined forces with the stalwart Sir George Booth in the unsuccessful but audacious Royalist uprising of 1659. Succession brought forth the visionary Sir Thomas Grosvenor, the third baronet, who paved the way for their sprawling property empire. He masterminded the construction of an impressive residence where the majestic Eaton Hall in Cheshire stands today. The massive estate, adorned with manicured gardens, fertile farmland, lush woodlands and expansive parkland, contributed greatly to the growth of the illustrious Grosvenor dynasty and the prosperity of the Cheshire community. In 1677, when Sir Thomas married the elegant Mary Davies, her dowry, Ebury, bolstered the Grosvenors' expanding landholdings. This humble 500-acre patch of meadows and marshland underwent a dramatic transformation into the opulent districts of Mayfair and Belgravia. As London grew and spread its wings westwards, the Grosvenor family would wisely harness this potential and shape the city's most prestigious neighbourhoods. Now, the first modern Grosvenor, Hugh Lupus, the first Duke of Westminster, was a titan of Victorian society, acclaimed not only as a formidable landowner and astute politician, but also as an ardent racehorse aficionado. His substantial influence over London's wealthiest neighbourhoods began unfolding in the mid-1800s. You see, through strategic investment and visionary leadership, the Duke had capitalised on the shifting dynamics of the late 19th century economy. Many aristocratic families struggled to adapt to the decline of the agricultural economy. However, the Grosvenors, through a fortunate turn of events, found themselves at the heart of London's rapid urban expansion. As the Duke poured his substantial fortune into further development, under his shrewd guidance, the transformation of one of London's most exclusive districts, Belgravia, began. The marshy tracts of Mayfair were also transformed into luxurious residences. By doing so, they turned these areas, along with Pimlico, into some of London's most sought-after addresses. Furthermore, in 1852, his connection to the British monarchy was cemented when he married his cousin, Lady Constance Sutherland Leveson Gower, in a ceremony at St James's Palace, attended by Queen Victoria and Prince Albert. This event established the foundation for Grosvenor's close association with the Queen, given his mother-in-law's favoured standing within the royal court. Building on this connection, the first significant milestone of the Grosvenor family's ascension to the pinnacle of Britain's influential elites occurred in 1874. That year, Queen Victoria likely recognised the vital role that the Grosvenors played in transforming London's cityscape, and as a result, bestowed upon Hugh Grosvenor the prestigious title of Duke of Westminster. Additionally, as the 20th century dawned, the family's holdings continued to grow, acquiring more properties in Scotland and elsewhere. The Grosvenor family's vast wealth and prominence in British society thus spoke to their strategic acumen, visionary leadership, and the fortunate circumstances of their time. Now Hugh's son, Gerald Cavendish Grosvenor, the 6th Duke of Westminster, cultivated an even unprecedented fortune, skillfully steering the modern Grosvenor Empire to new heights of affluence and influence. By his time, the name Grosvenor had become a byword for first-class real estate, and in the post-war era of the 1950s, the Grosvenor domain would burgeon beyond the borders of its London heartland. Presiding over the Grosvenor Group, Gerald first guided the company as its chairman. In the inaugural edition of the Sunday Times Rich List, published in 1989, he was placed as the second wealthiest person in the United Kingdom, boasting a staggering fortune of £3.2 billion, an eye-watering £8.47 billion in today's terms. Only Queen Elizabeth II herself surpassed him. Thus, Gerald Grosvenor's visionary leadership heralded an era of significant expansion and diversification for the Grosvenor Group. The company broadened its property portfolio across multiple sectors and locales, specializing in urban property, food and ag-tech, and rural estates. Its urban property ventures included the development and management of vibrant urban sites, such as the American capital Washington, D.C., where the Grosvenor presence had been instrumental in the city's renaissance since 1988. Simultaneously, the Grosvenor food and ag-tech sector spearheaded investment in companies transforming the world of food and agriculture for the better. With a veteran investment team, they expertly managed a portfolio of over 25 companies, ushering in positive change in food and farming with a focus on human health, environmental sustainability, and economic viability. In rural estates, Grosvenor handled a plethora of agricultural, residential, and commercial properties spread across rural Cheshire and parts of Chester city centre. Thus, the modern Grosvenor Empire was a masterclass in not only wealth preservation but expansion and social acuity, as they shrewdly modulated from minor nobility to some of the monarchy's closest confidants and business partners. However, the lustrous history of the Grosvenor lineage, like many old money families, is not devoid of shadows. Behind the opulence and majesty, elements of controversy often lurk, tainting the family's well-polished image. In the late 2000s, a scandal of a distinctly dissolute nature embroiled Gerald Cavendish Grosvenor, the 6th Duke of Westminster. Come 2008, media outlets were abuzz with stories associating him with the notorious Emperor's Club VIP, a high-end call-girl ring at the heart of New York Governor Eliot Spitzer's downfall. Reports insinuated that despite the vast Grosvenor fortune, the Duke was uncharacteristically tight-fisted, choosing to bargain with an Emperor's Club girl over their liaison's cost. This unexpected revelation somewhat marred the family's prestige, sparking a wave of gossip among the British elite. But this unsavory encounter with the Emperor's Club was not the only time the Grosvenor family's name was tarnished. A few years later, the infamous Paradise Papers implicated the family in another scandal. The leaked documents, which unveiled an extensive network of offshore tax havens used by the world's wealthy and influential figures, indicated that the Grosvenors had channeled dividends worth millions into concealed offshore companies. This startling disclosure traced back to 1999 and suggested that these offshore entities controlled approximately half of the shares in a subsidiary company managing the Grosvenors' North American and Australian ventures. The intricate offshore arrangement aimed to reduce tax liabilities, igniting public furor and raising serious ethical questions about the family's financial dealings. Moreover, in 2019, Hugh Grosvenor, the Duke of Westminster, faced severe backlash and accusations of so-called social cleansing. This controversy emerged when his property group, Grosvenor, planned to raze Walden House in Belgravia, London, to make way for a plush new development. This proposition threatened to displace 40 families from their council homes, with some residents having inhabited them for up to 40 years. The plans sparked public indignation, resulting in a petition opposing the eviction gathering over 180,000 signatures. In response to the public outcry, Westminster City Council announced that all tenants would receive new social housing on the site, effectively averting the eviction. Grosvenor refuted the social cleansing allegations, asserting that such language contradicted their business ethos. Despite this, the controversy underscored the escalating concerns around the impact of luxury property developments on London's working-class communities. Now, navigating the 21st century, the Grosvenor family maintains a commanding and influential presence, their wealth predominantly rooted in their enormous land and property assets. Within London, the family's ownership comprises half of Mayfair, encompassing freeholds of the American Embassy, the Beaumont Hotel, and the Gagosian Gallery, along with 300 acres of Belgravia. Several other properties within the area include the Biscuit Factory in Bermondsey, St Mark's in Mayfair, and Eaton Square in Belgravia. Their holdings also extend to the Eaton Estate in Cheshire, the Abbeystead Estate in Lancashire, and additional estates in Scotland and Spain. Indeed, the family's property enterprise, the Grosvenor Group, remains a driving force in urban property development and investment across many of the world's premier cities. They showcase considerable expertise in handling listed buildings and developing new properties, often investing in community-oriented features like sports facilities and shopping centres. Internationally, their holdings comprise notable assets in various locations. In Canada, they possess Annacis Island, a vast 485-hectare property nestled in Vancouver's Fraser River. In the United States, Grosvenor Americas focuses on property development and investment, with diverse projects spread across the nation. Over in Hong Kong, the Grosvenor Group has invested in luxury homes development through a Bermuda entity, Grosvenor Land Property Fund Limited. Additionally, the Grosvenor Group boasts investments across various European countries, including France, Spain, and Portugal. Now, the current family figurehead is Hugh Grosvenor, the 7th Duke of Westminster, with a net worth nearing a staggering $12.5 billion. Known for his youthful charm, Hugh Grosvenor has been described as having been born with the longest silver spoon anyone can have. Despite his colossal wealth and privilege, in true old money fashion, he favours a low-key lifestyle, avoiding public scrutiny. His close friendship with Prince William extends to him being the godfather to Prince George, a symbol of the close ties between the Grosvenor and royal families. Furthermore, this connection extends further, as the Grosvenors have long been closely allied with the royal family, with the 7th Duke of Westminster being one of King Charles's 33 godchildren. Regarding the fairer sex, one of the Grosvenor family's most influential women today is Lady Edwina Grosvenor, the sister of the 7th Duke of Westminster. Born into exceptional wealth and privilege, she has chosen a path of philanthropy and prison reform. As the founder and chair of One Small Thing, an organisation that collaborates with prisoners and staff in male and female prisons, and a founding investor and ambassador of the Clink restaurant chain, which prepares prisoners for the catering industry, Lady Edwina's efforts in prison reform and dedication to philanthropy have been said to underline her commitment to harnessing her influence and resources for societal betterment. Thus, through centuries of strategic decisions, visionary leadership, and the convergence of destiny, the Grosvenors have transformed from stalwart knights of the British realm since the days of William the Conqueror to the modern, old money British family that owns the richest parts of London. When discussing the enduring emblems of aristocratic power and legendary old money families in the United Kingdom, the conversation typically gravitates towards the glittering skyline of London, the sprawling country estates in the south of England, or the industrial might of cities like Manchester and Liverpool. Yet, up north, in the rugged terrain of Northumberland, there lies an often overlooked, yet historically vital, old money British family that has not only ruled for almost 1,000 years, but still stands to this very day as one of the United Kingdom's largest private landowners, owning a domain of over 100,000 acres. For nearly a millennium, the Percy family, Dukes of Northumberland, have wielded their influence from this strategically crucial region, straddling the historically volatile border with Scotland. Indeed, much of the area these old money aristocrats add to their ledger of assets has been of such monumental importance that it was even acknowledged by the ancient Romans themselves. It was in the Percy family's ancestral lands that the Roman Empire constructed the iconic Hadrian's Wall, to serve not just as a formidable barrier against northern incursions, but also as a symbol of the Roman Empire's reach. Furthermore, as if ties to ancient Rome and nearly 1,000 years in power wasn't enough, the Percy family legacy is so profound that it has even been immortalized by none other than the bard himself, William Shakespeare. In today's episode, we'll share the full saga of how and why the 1,000-year old money family, known as the Dukes of Northumberland, have managed to stay in power for so long as we describe. The Percys, the old money family that owns the north of England. In order to get a wide-angle view of the millennium-long influence of the Percy family, we must first take a journey to the north, where the Percy family reigns supreme. This is Northumberland, that mysterious land steeped in historical significance for centuries, where Roman legions once marched, and where the Percy family's rule is not just impressive. It is the manor of legends, Overseeing a colossal 100,000 acres of land, these aristocratic titans are more than mere landowners. They're the emperors of the northern English green, reigning over acreage that has seen the ebb and flow of history like few other old money families in the history of the British Isles. And at the heart of this dynasty, steering this majestic ship through the modern era, is none other than Ralph George Algernon Percy, the 12th Duke of Northumberland. Born into a world of privilege on the 16th of November 1956, Duke Ralph, a product of the ultimate prestigious British old money education at Eton College and Oxford, wasn't just only the keys to the kingdom, he earned them with his savvy in modern history and land management. Then, before he took the reins, Duke Ralph honed his leadership chops at Arundel Castle's estate office and managing the family's flagship, Alnwick Castle, for his brother. Indeed, Alnwick, far more than a collection of ancient stones, stands as a towering architectural icon, flexing its aesthetic and historical muscles since the year 1096. And, true to form, this fortress, born from the vision of Ivo de Vesci, has seen a transformation worthy of a medieval epic. From a stalwart defence against Scottish incursions to a majestic circular keep, the Percy family estate Alnwick breaks away from the cookie-cutter mould of Norman square fortresses. But Alnwick Castle isn't just basking in its ancestral glory, it's currently still a live wire of activity. Open to the public, it is England's second-largest lived-in castle, boasting attractions that pull in crowds like a medieval rock concert. And let's not forget its extended stint in the Harry Potter films, where it magically morphed into a wizarding school, making it a pilgrimage site for Potterheads. But the Percy family influence stretches well beyond Alnwick, marking territories like Sion House and lands spanning from Scotland to Tyneside. With a cool £490 million in the bank, managed by Northumberland Estates, the Dukes of Northumberland are more than just land barons. They're influencers in the realms of art, hospitality, and even eco-friendly housing. At the forefront of this dynastic evolution along with Duke Ralph is his partner in life, wife Jane Richard Northumberland. The pair tied the knot in a ceremony that blended tradition and romance on the 21st of July 1979 at Traquair Parish Church. And together they've nurtured a family that's as diverse in their interests as they are united in their heritage. The eldest, Lady Catherine Sarah Katie Percy, born on the 23rd of June 1982, melds the art of gunsmithing with the intricacies of mechanics. Yes, indeed, if you thought that aristocratic millennials were only meant to be socialites and Instagram influencers, think again. Lady Kate is quite literally a gunsmith and mechanic. Next, George Dominic Percy, or Earl Percy, born in May 1984, is not just the heir apparent, but also a visionary in the energy sector as the managing director of Hotspur Geothermal, a British company that specialises in natural resource development and renewable energies. Additionally, Lady Melissa Jane Percy, born in 1987, weaves her magic in the world of fashion, a bit more common in aristocratic circles, yet all the while also boasting a past life as a professional tennis player. And last but not least, Lord Max Percy, born on the 26th of May 1990, crunches numbers and strategies as a financial analyst. Thus, with a multi-talented family dipping their toes in many unexpected disciplines, at least for a brood of aristocrats with 1,000 years of power under their belts, we are faced with our next question. How exactly did the Percys, these legendary dukes and duchesses of Northumberland in the north of England, get their start? And how have they managed to maintain power for more than 9 centuries in the region of the world that birthed the Industrial Revolution? In order to answer that, we must, as is the case with many old money families on Albion, circle back to the fateful year of 1066 and the Norman conquest of England by William the Conqueror. Now, during the Norman conquest, from 1066 to the year 1300, the Percy family's entry into English history was anything but subtle. From their origins in Percy-en-Auge, Normandy, hence the surname Percy, they embarked on a journey that was less of a channel crossing and more of a seismic shift in medieval England's power dynamics. Indeed, William de Percy, the clan's original trailblazer, landed in England with William the Conqueror himself in between the years 1066 and 1067. Come to think of it, it might be easiest to imagine this Percy ancestor as the medieval equivalent of a high-rolling startup co-founder who, thanks to the king's generosity, found himself the new owner of prime real estate across Yorkshire, Lincolnshire, Essex and Hampshire. Now, even the iconic Domesday Book of 1086, a Middle-Age ledger that detailed the exact locations and power centres of medieval England, chronicled the Percy family's land acquisitions, catapulting the future Dukes of Northumberland from mere land owners to social royalty. As the calendar flipped to the 14th century, the Percys, already by then firmly entrenched as English nobility, dabbled in a mix of military ventures and political machinations. For instance, the Battle of Bannockburn in 1314, where Sir Henry Percy, the first Baron Percy, made a cameo, but not in the expected manner. Evading the battlefield under Edward II, he opted for a strategic retreat at Alnwick. Some called it a tactical masterstroke, others a lesson in picking battles wisely. And this period also marked the Percys' alliance with the Plantagenets, the then rock stars of royal lineage. Without a doubt, aligning with them wasn't just a savvy political move, it was similar to scoring a VIP ticket to the medieval elite's most exclusive social events. Consequently, the alliance between the Percy family and the Plantagenets alliance bore fruit in 1377 with the creation of the Earldom of Northumberland. So when Henry Percy bagged this title post Richard II's coronation, it was less of a step up and more of a quantum leap into the aristocratic stratosphere. Furthermore, the Percys' knack for navigating the tumultuous seas of English politics in the Middle Ages was legendary. Their acumen in military and political arenas was matched only by their shrewd land management and strategic marriages, weaving a web of influence that extended across the British Isles. Indeed, their involvement in key historical events, from the signing of the Magna Carta to the Wars of the Roses, further cemented their status. They didn't just play the Game of Thrones, they rewrote the rules. Therefore, to put this into perspective, to this very day, one of the largest landowners in the United Kingdom has held power for such a long time that their ancestors quite literally signed the Magna Carta. Undoubtedly, that's the kind of familial continuity you can't just cultivate by buying your new kiddie a Rolls-Royce and putting them in a trendy prep school. However, to be clear, being able to maintain power for this long doesn't come without making a few enemies. And indeed, soon after the Earldom of Northumberland was created, the Percys would be involved in one of the most turbulent feuds between families in English history. In the middle of the Wars of the Roses, a period that shook England from 1455 to 1487, the Percy family wasn't merely a group of spectators. They were central characters in this iconic historical drama. This era, marked by the fierce rivalry of the Plantagenet houses of York and Lancaster, reshaped the very fabric of the nation. And the devastating toll of the conflict, claiming over 105,000 lives and ending the Plantagenet male line, set the stage for the rise of the Tudor dynasty. Amid this national turmoil, the Percy-Neville feud emerged as a pivotal subplot, igniting tensions that would fuel the larger war. Starting in the 1450s, this bitter rivalry between two northern powerhouses, the Percys and the Nevilles, laid the groundwork for the ensuing chaos. You see, the Nevilles, during this time, were a family on the ascent. They had steadily gained power, largely through strategic marriages, like the union of Richard Neville with Alice Montacute, heiress of the Earl of Salisbury. This savvy move not only expanded their wealth and lands, but also cemented their status among the northern aristocracy. Additionally, their shrewd political alliances, including ties with influential figures at court, further augmented their influence. Thus, it was this rising power and expanding influence of the Nevilles that set them on a collision course with the established and equally ambitious Percy family, transforming a regional power struggle into a key factor in the larger Wars of the Roses. Now, the city of York, a northern jewel, became the stage for their confrontations, witnessing clashes near its walls in 1453 and 1454 that only fanned the flames of discord. But the feud took a truly dramatic turn on the 24th of August 1453, with Thomas Neville's marriage to Maud, a union that the Percys found offensive. This tension boiled over into a confrontation aimed at decimating the Neville party, a move that pushed the Nevilles into the arms of the Duke of York and the Percys towards the Lancastrian Somerset. Therefore, this Percy-Neville feud was far more than a local squabble. It was a catalyst in the broader national conflict that reshaped England's destiny, and the resolution only came with Henry VII's restoration of the Percys in 1485, a move that not only ended the feud, but also marked a significant moment in the turbulent narrative of the Wars of the Roses. Even further, the Percy family's legendarily fiery spirit during this epoch was so well known that they even made it into the works of Shakespeare himself, with not one, but two Percy family members being characters in the Bard's Henry IV play. And then, back to real life. Next, there's the so-called Rising of the North in 1569, orchestrated by Thomas Percy, the 7th Earl of Northumberland. This wasn't merely a rebellion, it was a high-stakes gambit to replace Elizabeth I with Mary Queen of Scots. Thomas Percy, stepping up as the face of the rebellion, embodied the clash between religious fervour and political ambition. But as bold as it was, the rebellion stumbled, lacking the necessary support and facing a formidable response from Elizabeth I's forces. The Percys faced the music, with Thomas Percy's capture and execution marking a significant, albeit morbid, chapter in the family saga. However, after this tense time for this storied family, the Percys would not only begin to righten themselves, but actually improve their fates by deftly joining both the coming Industrial Revolution and even having a key hand in the realm of British literature. Let's join the family on the next chapter in their story, as they simultaneously deliver key moments to modern British industry, as well as one of the nation's beloved poets. In the 19th century, the Percy family, esteemed as the Dukes of Northumberland, embraced the winds of change brought by the Industrial Revolution. They astutely capitalized on this era of innovation, turning their vast lands into hives of industrial activity. For example, in the early 1800s, the Percy coal mine at Shilbottle was a symbol of their foresight, with Charles Percy's father deftly managing the estate for the Duke. Additionally, as the 1840s rolled in, the Percys, ever the visionaries, plunged into the burgeoning railway industry. Additionally, this period marked a pivotal chapter for the Percys, transcending their medieval, Tudor and Stuart era legacies. The late 19th century's technological advancements and socio-economic upheavals required a redefined approach to aristocracy, and the Percys rose to the challenge. For example, beyond their industrial enterprises, they emerged as cultural and educational vanguards. In the literary domain, Thomas Percy, a distinguished member of the family, ignited a literary renaissance with his seminal work, Relics of Ancient English Poetry. Published in 1765, this collection of English and Scottish ballads transcended its role as a mere anthology. It rekindled interest in traditional songs and ballads, profoundly influencing the so-called Romantic poets. Legendary British figures such as Samuel Taylor Coleridge and William Wordsworth were inspired to craft their ballads in emulation of those in Percy's collection. But the impact of Relics extended beyond the shores of Britain. It spurred the collection and study of ballads as a popular endeavour, resonating across Europe and inspiring movements like the Brothers Grimm in Germany. These movements laid the foundation for Romantic nationalism, a significant cultural and intellectual shift of the era. Thus, outside of their business and battle bona fides, the Dukes of Northumberland, the Percy family, even have a direct hand in the literary history of the English language, from Shakespeare himself down to names like Coleridge and Wordsworth. However, much like the rest of Europe, coming into the bloodiest century in world history, the 20th, we'd have to wonder how the Percys would pull out all the stops in order to continue to reign supreme. As World War I unfolded from 1914 to 1918, the Percy family wasn't content with being mere spectators. They were right at the heart of the action. Before the war's onset, the Duke of Northumberland made a pivotal move, transforming land near Alnwick Castle into a training camp for the Tyneside Brigades, who would join the ranks of the Northumberland Fusiliers. This wasn't just about providing space, it was about shaping the forces that would stand at the forefront of Britain's military efforts. The Northumberland Fusilier, a formidable unit in the British Army, expanded their ranks to an impressive 52 battalions, with 29 serving abroad. And indeed, they were a central force during the war. engaging in the grueling trench warfare of the Western Front, and even extended their valour to the Macedonian Front, the Gallipoli campaign, and the Italian Front. Their role was not only significant, but also symbolised the military might and resilience of Britain. Stepping up to the dukedom in 1918, right before the war ended, was Alan Ian Percy, the 8th Duke, born in 1880. Much is the style of a Percy. His life was a fascinating tapestry of roles. A British peer, army officer, a newspaper proprietor. His military career included a stint as a second lieutenant in the Second Boer War, while his political leanings saw him as a staunch Tory and a fervent supporter of the House of Lords. His influence extended to the realms of journalism and publishing, marking him as a multifaceted figure of his time. Then, as World War II raged, Alnwick Castle transitioned from a family home to a strategic military asset. The HMS Alnwick Castle, named in honour of this lineage, was a testament to the family's unwavering commitment to the nation's defence. Furthermore, the next head of the Percy household, the 9th Duke of Northumberland, Henry George Allen Percy, took the helm in 1930, only to have his life cut short on the shores of Dunkirk, serving the British people, leaving behind a legacy of valiant bravery and service to the nation. Fast forward to the late 20th century, and the Percys, ever the trendsetters, turned their focus to historical preservation. The 1970s to 90s saw them donning their restoration hats, transforming heritage sites, with Alnwick Castle taking the spotlight. Under the stewardship of Elizabeth Percy and Sir Hugh Smithson, the castle wasn't just restored, it was reborn, ready to take on the future while honouring its past. Specifically, the 80s brought a new chapter for the Percys as they swung open their estate doors to the public. Alnwick Castle's transition from private abode to public marvel wasn't just a change of policy. It was like turning a private diary into a bestseller. In this era, the Percys weren't just preserving history, they were making it, balancing their noble heritage with a knack for modern times. And so, here we stand today, with the Percy family, also known as the Dukes of Northumberland, almost 1,000 years in and still holding some of the most sway and acreage on Albion.